The journey of a Pokemon researcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Double Evolution. Xuanjian did not hesitate and immediately ordered Zubat to attack. Zubat, Ultrasonic. Catboss, Sing. Kurosawa also ordered Catboss to use Sonic skills. The skills of the two Pokemon interfered with each other in the air, and ultimately had no effect. Zubat, Shadow Assault. Xuanjian ordered. From the last battle against Uncle Ming, Xuanjian realized that for novice trainers, since they were not familiar with the skills of Pokemon, he could win by relying on his knowledge reserves and flexible use of skills, but for masters, this was not enough. Therefore, Xuanjian came up with the effect of using a combination of skills to attack. This not only shortened the length of the command, but also made it difficult for the opponent to defend according to the trainer's command. After receiving the command, Zubat flapped its wings, rose to the sky, split into several shadow clones, and then controlled the shadow clones to pounce on Catboss from a high altitude. Catboss, High-Speed Star. Kurosawa ordered Catboss to spray a high-speed meteor. This is a range attack skill, so although the power is not very good, it is almost certain to hit. High-Speed Stars shot at Zubat, immediately destroying the shadow clones one by one, but Zubat did not retreat. It pounced on the back of Catboss under the attack, opened its mouth, and bit Catboss's back with its teeth shining with purple light. Catboss screamed, and the wound was a little purple. It was obvious that the attack of the fangs took effect and fell into poison state. Kurosawa was not panicked, and calmly ordered, Catboss, 100,000 volts. No, Zubat, suck blood. Zubat was too close to Catboss now, and there was no way to avoid 100,000 volts. It could only attack again and try to survive 100,000 volts with the blood it recovered. A dazzling electric light appeared on Catboss's body, and Zubat bit Catboss's back and began to suck blood. Since Zubat bit Catboss before being hit by the electric current emitted by Catboss, Catboss also became the target of the electric current. There is an irreparable risk for non-electric Pokemon to use electric skills, that is, if the opponent is performing a close attack, it is likely that the opponent will also be attacked by electric current. Catboss was seriously injured by the double attack of electric current and blood sucking at the same time, and Zubat was also twice as much electric damage due to its attributes, and it barely supported itself by blood sucking. Kurosawa looked at Zubat, who was still tightly biting on Catboss's back and sucking blood, and ordered Catboss. Catboss, roll on the ground and throw Zubat down. Zubat, ignore it, use Venom Blast. As the descendant of the crossbit of Bixius, a senior cadre of the Rocket Team, Zubat has a very good talent. It has learned the Venom Blast skill just by upgrading, and it is a killer move when combined with the Venomous Fang. Catboss rolled and successfully threw Zubat down, but Zubat's Venom Blast also hit it, and combined with the poison state, it caused him huge damage. Just when Xuanjian was about to order Zubat to continue attacking and knock down the last blood of Catboss, Zubat glowed white and began to evolve. Seeing this, Kurosawa, who had already prepared to lose, immediately regrouped. Catboss, you sleep. It is a universally recognized rule not to attack evolving Pokemon, but this does not mean that you cannot use recovery skills. What a pity. Xuanjian said in his heart, if he could have made up a blow just now, the outcome might have been decided. However, he was still very happy that Zubat evolved into Zubat, which was much more important than winning a game. Zubat's evolution was completed quickly, and a strong Zubat appeared on the field. Zubat, use blood sucking. The evolved Zubat's physical strength had not yet fully recovered, so it was just in time to recover the physical strength before Catboss woke up. Catboss, sleep talk. Kurosawa ordered. Catboss immediately used a skill randomly in his sleep, and a stream of energy came out of Catboss, blocking Zubat's attack. The skill selected was to defend. Before Zubat could attack further, Catboss had already woken up, his health was restored, the poisoning status on his body had disappeared, and even the wounds bitten by Zubat had healed a lot, which made people have to sigh at the magic of Pokemon's power. However, his mental state and internal energy could not be restored. Now Catboss only had half of his peak combat power. Catboss, destroy the Death Ray. Seeing that Catboss had restored all his health, But his mental and energy were greatly consumed. Kurosawa decided to use his ultimate move to decide the outcome. Cat Boss opened his mouth and spewed out a golden light. Destroy the Death Ray. As the ultimate move of the normal type, most Pokemon's final evolution can learn it. For Pokemon other than Rock and Steel types, this skill basically means losing the game as long as it is hit. P.S. The skill is ineffective against ghost types. This book believes that it is because it cannot be hit, and it works after being seen through. But ordinary trainers will not use this ultimate move easily, not only because it requires a lot of physical strength, but also because one round of stiffness is enough to change many things. Facing the destructive Death Ray, Xuanjian did not dare to confront it head-on, but fortunately, there are still many ways to deal with such a big move. Golbat, substitute. Xuanjian ordered Golbat to use a newly learned skill after evolution, summoning a substitute to take the attack on behalf of the main body. The amount of blood consumed by the substitute is determined by the damage taken. Even if the powerful destructive Death Ray of Cat Boss was weakened by the substitute, it also knocked down a lot of Golbat's blood. But in the end, Golbat still withstood it, and the situation suddenly became favorable to Golbat. Golbat, ultrasonic wave, and then bite with poisonous teeth. Golbat did not have a skill that could determine the outcome of the battle in one blow, so confusing the enemy was undoubtedly a good choice. The stiff state Cat Boss could not resist, and fell into confusion after being hit by the ultrasonic wave. However, its blood volume was still sufficient, and it was entirely possible to hold on until the moment of awakening. Cat Boss, sleep. Kurosawa tried to let Cat Boss sleep again to clear the abnormal state and hold on until he woke up. But Kurosawa and the Cat Boss didn't cooperate well enough. The Cat Boss in the confused state did not successfully use sleep, but used crazy scratching. Even the Cat Boss in the awake state might not be able to attack Zubat with crazy scratching, let alone the Cat Boss in the confused state. Zubat easily dodged the Cat Boss's attack and pounced on the Cat Boss's back again. The poisonous fangs hit the Cat Boss and successfully poisoned the Cat Boss again. Cat Boss, sleep. Kurosawa did not give up and continued to order. Zubat, venom attack. Zubat spit out purple venom and sprayed it at the Cat Boss, but the Cat Boss used Guard in the Chaos to block the speech attack. Zubat, another venom attack. Cat Boss, sleep. Both sides did not change their battle plans and continued to order. Luck was finally on Xuanjian's side. The Cat Boss used crazy scratching again this time. It was probably because he had used this skill many times when he was a child, when he was still a Meow, so he was very familiar with it and used it subconsciously in the chaos. The Venom Blast hit the Cat Boss, and the battered Cat Boss finally fell down. The winner was Zubat. Well done, Zubat. Xuanjian hugged Zubat excitedly. This battle can be said to be the most intense battle he has encountered since his debut. The battle with Uncle Ming was completely crushed, not fierce, and the victory and defeat changed hands several times, and finally fell to his side. Come back, Cat Boss, you have worked hard. Kurosawa also took back the Pokémon and came to Xuanjian. You are very powerful. I thought I was the strongest among the contestants, but I didn't expect to meet you, a dark horse. No, it's just good luck. Many of Mr. Kurosawa's tactics and skills opened my eyes. If your Cat Boss knows a skill like Tail of Steel, I will definitely lose. This game is completely based on the opponent's lack of close-range skills and relying on his own flexibility and speed to bully others. The Cat Boss's tail is long and flexible. If it learns Tail of Steel, Xuanjian really dare not let Zubat attack at close range. I didn't focus on training Boss Cat, so his skills are a little weak. Kurosawa was not modest and affirmed Xuanjian's judgment. As for those skills, you can do them if you practice hard. You must work hard and strive to win the championship. Well, I will work hard. Second update, the third update may be a little later. Vote for you. Chapter 27 Final. After separating from Kurosawa, Xuanjian came to the stage to meet Duoga and handed the Pokéball to Duoga. Duoga, please let them recover as soon as possible. Perhaps the healing machine can heal the injuries of Pokémon, but it is still the breeder who is best at restoring Pokémon to their peak combat power. Don't worry, leave it to me. Duoga took the Pokéball. You can actually relax a little. Tomorrow's opponent will not be more difficult to deal with than today. To be honest, I was quite surprised that you can enter the semifinals. This Kurosawa is a very powerful trainer and has achieved the top 16 results of the Quartz Conference. However, He seems to prefer Pokémon with larger bodies, so he is not used to this game. It turns out that he didn't play his full strength. It seems that I really picked up a big bargain. Xuanjian smiled. During the battle, he felt that the opponent had a feeling of being unable to use his strength. It turned out that he was not using the main Pokémon. After all, this game was held in a temporary venue on the cruise ship. Some large Pokémon are definitely not suitable for use, so the opponent's loss to him was also too bad luck. The next morning, Xuanjian encountered an opponent who was indeed much more normal. The opponent was a trainer who was good at grass-type Pokémon. He sent out a vine monster and a Smurfer respectively. Xuanjian had an advantage in attributes, whether Charmeleon was restraining the grass-type in attack or Zubat was restraining the grass-type in defense. In addition, the opponent was not strong, so Xuanjian won the game easily without much effort and officially entered the finals. Congratulations on entering the finals. Duoga congratulated as always. Thank you, I was lucky this morning. The Pokémon of the opponent I met were all grass-type, and the attributes were restrained, so it was easy to win. In addition, the battle in the morning did not take much effort, so his Charmeleon and Zubat could save more energy to deal with the afternoon game. Xuanjian's words seemed to have touched something. Duoga said with emotion, yes, trainers who specialize in one system will indeed improve faster and form blood inheritance, but in addition to super counter and powerful attributes like the Dragon Clan, once they are restrained, it will be very troublesome. His family specializes in water system. Although it has been passed down for many years, it has never been strong. The attribute restraint is also one of the important reasons. Xuanjian smiled and said nothing. The strength of the Super Counter Clan is not only because the Pokémon is strong, but also because the trainers of the Super Counter Clan can use the power of Super Counter. The Dragon Clan is because the Dragon attribute Pokémon is far higher than the race value of other attribute Pokémon, and there is no attribute of restrained, so it will double the damage to anything. When the Fairy system is discovered and promoted, the decline of the Dragon Clan is just around the corner. After a short break at noon, the final of this game began. Xuanjian's opponent is a boy who is older than Xuanjian. It is said that he is preparing to challenge the Orange Alliance. In the previous matches, the opponent had used the Insect and Poison-type Beedrill, the Grass-type Chrysanthemum, and the Electric-type Pikachu. However, the opponent may not only have these few Pokémon, so Xuanjian was not careless about the upcoming match. Then this luxury cruise competition has entered the final stage. The two contestants are Xuanjian from Kanto Kyanmo village and Guimu from the Hone region. This round of competition adopts 3 versus 3. A random draw will decide whether Xuanjian will attack first. Is there any problem? No. Then please ask the two trainers to decide the first Pokémon to appear. Come out, Charmeleon, you will be the first. Xuanjian summoned Charmeleon, and the other side also summoned a Pokémon, which was Pikachu. Good luck. Xuanjian sighed. The other two Pokémon in his hand were restrained by the electric type, but he didn't expect that he was lucky enough to avoid it. 3, 2, 1, the game begins. Charmeleon, Spark Attack. For a small and flexible elf like Pikachu, Flame Spray is difficult to hit, and it is not as useful as Sparks. Pikachu, Light Wall. Facing the spray of fire, Oak chose to put a light wall on Pikachu to weaken the special attack. Under the light wall, the Sparks, which were originally weak, did not cause any damage to Pikachu and were directly shattered. Pikachu, 100,000 volts. Charmer, use Big Fire. Xuanjian chose to use Charmer's newly learned skill. The electric current released by Pikachu collided with a big fire released by Charmer, causing a violent explosion, and the field was filled with smoke for a while. Charmer, use Sparks for the whole field. Xuanjian's voice came from the smoke, followed by countless red fireballs spreading to the field. Pikachu, move at high speed. The light wall had not yet expired. Pikachu, who was protected by the light wall, ignored the damage of the sparks and ran on the field, speeding up. Now, Pikachu, Electric Ball. Pikachu, whose speed increased, emitted electric current all over his body, which gathered into an electric ball in front of him. The high-speed moving Pikachu pushed the electric ball to rush towards Charmer. Charmer, Spray Flames. Pikachu, High Voltage Shock. A high-voltage current came out of Pikachu's body, stimulating it to accelerate further and rush straight towards Charmer. Charmer seized Pikachu's weakness that it was difficult to turn and used a spray of flames. A thick flame rushed out of Charmer's mouth and shot straight at Pikachu. Pikachu pushed the electric ball to block the fire column and kept hitting it. Pikachu's early acceleration was too fast, and the electric ball was finally successfully hit by Charmer and exploded all of a sudden. The fierce explosion obscured everyone's vision. This time no one issued an order, and everyone was waiting for the result. Finally, the smoke dissipated, and Pikachu on the field lost his combat effectiveness, and Charmer was also seriously injured and fell into a paralyzed state. How could it be? Oak was particularly puzzled by Pikachu's loss of combat effectiveness. According to his estimation, it should be Charmer who lost his combat effectiveness. It's because of the temperature and air. An audience outside the field acted as a temporary commentator. Xuanjian looked over and saw that it was his opponent yesterday, Kurosawa. What do you mean? Asked Oak. Since the beginning of the game, Charmeleon has been using fire skills, which will cause an effect, that is, the temperature of the field will rise, the air will become thinner, and the oxygen in the air will decrease, while the carbon dioxide will increase. Carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen and will be deposited below, so the shorter Pikachu will feel the effect of the reduced oxygen content first. Due to the insufficient oxygen content, Pikachu's high-speed movement, lightning flash, and even high-voltage electric shock did not increase the speed to the extent you expected, and the final damage was relatively low. In addition, because the attack power of the spark is relatively weak, it is almost completely blocked by the light wall, so you ignore the damage it causes. Although the light wall blocks the direct damage of the spark, it cannot block the high temperature caused by the spark, so Pikachu's body temperature is actually very high. High temperature is not a good thing for electric Pokémon. So that's the case. Come back, Pikachu, I neglected it. Oak put away Pikachu and replaced it with a fast-swimming frog. The third update is here, please vote for recommendation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Final. I haven't used this Pokémon before. Xuanjian felt a headache when he looked at the opponent's newly summoned frog. Although his backup Pokémon had an advantage in attributes, the opponent was the final evolution type, so he would definitely suffer in a fight. But no matter what, he still had to continue fighting. Just now, Changzumu listened to Kurosawa's explanation, and Charmeleon's paralysis was also relieved a little. After all, for fire Pokémon with a higher body temperature, the effect of the electric type is not very good. Charmeleon, use Ghost Face. Charmeleon did not have a powerful skill that was effective against Frog, so it was better to pave the way for the next Pokémon. Ghost Face can scare the opponent and reduce the opponent's speed. Frog, use Water Cannon. Although Charmeleon's Ghost Face scared the opponent, Frog quickly adjusted and launched an attack according to the trainer's instructions. Spray Flame. Xuanjian couldn't let Charmeleon sit and wait for death, but Charmeleon, whose body was somewhat paralyzed, obviously couldn't avoid the water cannon, so he could only use skills to fight back. The water cannon and the jet flame collided in the air, and a large amount of water mist rose up. However, water overcomes fire after all, and the water cannon gradually overwhelmed the jet flame. At this time, the flame on Charmeleon's tail became larger and burned fiercely. This was Charmeleon's characteristic, Fierce Fire, activated. The flame sprayed by Charmeleon, which activated its characteristic, immediately surged, completely overwhelmed the water cannon, and hit Frog. Unfortunately, Frog's body was full of water, so the damage was not high. Frog, Surf. Frog jumped hard, and a huge wave rose under its feet, overwhelming Charmeleon. Charmeleon knew that he would not be spared this time. Without Xuanjian's order, he gathered all his strength into Dragon's Wrath and hit Frog. The skills of both sides hit at the same time. Charmeleon lost his combat effectiveness, and Frog suffered some damage, but it was not serious. Well done, Charmeleon. Come back and rest first. Xuanjian took back Charmeleon, and then replaced another Pokémon. Come out, Zubat. Frog, use bodybuilding. The opponent chose to increase defense first when the attributes were unfavorable. Golbat, ultrasonic. Xuanjian still chose to start with a state. Fast swim Frog, jump up and attack Golbat. The fast swim Frog jumped up with all his strength. Its good jumping ability allowed it to jump higher than Golbat and escape directly from the ultrasonic range. At the same time, it sprayed a stream of water from its mouth at Golbat. Golbat, swallow return. Golbat had already put away the ultrasonic when the fast swim frog escaped from the attack range. At this time, it dodged the water gun and hit the fast swim frog from behind with its own flexibility and high speed. Keep using Poison Fang. Don't chase after the enemy who is desperate is not Xuanjian's style. At this time, the fast swim frog was still in the air and was completely at a disadvantage compared to the flexible Golbat. The fast swim frog, which was falling in the air, had no way to deal with a Golbat attacking from the back. Xuanjian immediately took advantage of the victory and chased after it, allowing Golbat to make up for the Poison Fang. The Poison Fang hit, and the fast swim frog's body turned purple, but at this time it also returned to the ground and immediately rolled over and escaped from the attack range of Golbat. Get away from frog, create some distance, and then find an opportunity to use Venom Blast. Xuanjian ordered. Frog, use the continuous water gun to shoot it down. Frog heard the trainer's order and immediately puffed up his cheeks, spraying streams of water from his mouth like a machine gun, shooting at Zubat, who was fleeing quickly with his back to it. Obviously, this is an optimized move specially developed by the opponent's trainer to fight against flying Pokémon. Compared with the continuous impact of the water gun, this move is fast and continuous, and can block the evasive space of flying Pokémon. Moreover, for flying Pokémon, if the body is wetted by the water gun, the movement will definitely become sluggish. Zubat is flapping its wings to fly away from Frog. For Zubat, the way to judge obstacles is the ultrasonic waves emitted from its big mouth. The ultrasonic waves emitted by its huge mouth almost cover the surrounding 360 degrees space, and all tangible targets are difficult to escape its detection. So although the continuous water gun from the mouth of the fast-swimming frog almost blocked all directions, the big mouth bat still flexibly found a gap and escaped. Well done, Xuanjian praised in his heart. At this time, the big mouth bat had flown out of the attack range of the fast-swimming frog, and the venom began to brew in its mouth. This was the last blow, enough to knock down the fast-swimming frog. Fast-swimming frog, fight to the death. The opponent did not give up, but encouraged the fast-swimming frog loudly. The fast-swimming frog nodded, and at the moment when the big mouth bat sprayed venom at it, the muscles of its legs tightened, and its bounce was used to the limit. It jumped high against the attack of the big mouth bat, punched the big mouth bat's abdomen, and was also splashed with venom. The two Pokémon lost their combat effectiveness at the same time and fell from the air. Big mouth bat. This scene was completely beyond Xuanjian's expectations. The safe distance that was originally thought turned into a joke under the amazing jumping power of the fast-swimming frog. It's actually a tie. How could it be? Isn't the big mouth bat in the advantage? This question echoed in everyone's mind. Kurosawa naturally acted as a temporary commentator again. Trainer Zubat was too careless. When Zubat attacked Frog from behind, Frog used his mind's eye and saw through the opponent's tactics. After landing, he quickly used the skill of holding on. When he fell into an abnormal state, he could deal twice the damage. Frog, which was poisoned, induced toxins in its body under the impact of the venom and lost its combat effectiveness. So that's how it is. The onlookers exclaimed, not expecting that there would be so many mysteries in such a seemingly ordinary scene. Period. But the two trainers on the field ignored their exclamations and sent out their last Pokémon. Come out, Butterfree. Butterfree appeared in front of everyone with its beautiful wings, and everyone saw the finale Pokémon that Xuanjian had been hiding. Go, Chrysanthemum. Oak smiled bitterly and released Chrysanthemum. He didn't expect that the opponent's last Pokémon was Butterfree, and he was in a disadvantageous position. If he had known, he would not have adjusted the team because the Pokémon was a little tired. But fortunately, Chrysanthemum's racial value was much higher than Butterfree, so he was not without a chance to fight. The two Pokémon have their own characteristics. In terms of attributes, Butterfree has the advantage, but in terms of level and race value, Chrysanthemum has the advantage. They are evenly matched. Both of them know that they have entered a decisive moment, so they dare not be careless and immediately start a fierce confrontation. Butterfree, Silver Whirlwind. Butterfree's beautiful wings kept flapping, sending out silver wind blades to Chrysanthemum, and the opponent reacted quickly and immediately blocked it with a seed machine gun. The skills collided in the air, and the exploded seeds exuded bursts of fragrance, and the blocked wind blades also scattered into groups of glittering scale powder. If it was a gorgeous competition, it would definitely get high scores. Butterfree, continue to use Silver Whirlwind. Butterfree flapped its wings again, sending out silver wind blades to attack. This time, Chrysanthemum ignored this insect skill that could cause double damage, and resisted the attack, and used clearing instead. Chrysanthemum, who resisted the attack, gathered energy on his body and shot it into the air. In an instant, the sunlight seemed to be much stronger. Butterfree, Shadow Clone. Usually the next rhythm is the grass-type ultimate move Sunlight Blaze. Xuanjian did not dare to be careless. He immediately let Butterfree create several vivid shadow clones so that Daisy, who was about to attack, could not find the target. But Daisy sent out a leaf storm that swept across the sky and immediately wiped out Butterfree's shadow clone. Then Sunlight Blaze came over. Xuanjian only had time to order Butterfree to use his mental power to resist and try to weaken the attack. After the dazzling Sunlight Blaze dissipated, the wounded Butterfree appeared in the air. Xuanjian breathed a sigh of relief, and he finally did not lose his combat effectiveness. Asking for votes. Chapter 29 Victory Breeder and Exchange. After all, Sunshine Blaze is a grass-type ultimate move. Although Butterfree has a huge advantage in terms of attributes, which will greatly weaken the actual attack effect, it is really hard to face such a powerful ultimate move for the first time without worrying. So it was not until he saw Butterfree that Xuanjian breathed a sigh of relief. Butterfree, Silver Cyclone. Seeing that Butterfree had not lost its combat effectiveness, Xuanjian did not dare to relax. He immediately ordered it to continue attacking and not give Chrysanthemum a chance to breathe. Although it was sunny, it was very difficult for Chrysanthemum to use the grass-type ultimate move Sunshine Blaze. With a level of this Chrysanthemum, it was not possible to use it continuously, but the opponent used another skill that could cooperate with sunny days. Chrysanthemum, use Natural Growth. The abundant sunlight provided Chrysanthemum with enough energy, and Chrysanthemum's physical strength recovered quickly. But at the same time, the Silver Cyclone was causing damage, and Chrysanthemum's physical strength was repeatedly changing from recovery to decline, recovery, and decline. In the end, the sunny effect ended, and Chrysanthemum still recovered some physical strength. Oak sighed. The attribute restraint was so strong that Daisy only recovered half of her stamina. Dana, use Destruction Mega Shockwave. Since the grass-type skill was restrained, she would switch to an unrestrained one. Unfortunately, Daisy was specialized in the grass-type and had not learned many non-grass-type skills. Butterfree, use Telekinesis to protect yourself. Upon hearing the order, Butterfree immediately used Telekinesis to condense a thin purple barrier in front of her to resist the attack of Mega Shockwave. As a common type of ultimate move, Mega Shockwave has considerable power. Although it was weakened a lot by Butterfree's powerful Telekinesis, it still caused great damage to Butterfree in the end without attribute weakening. If Butterfree had not been using skills that improved its own attributes, this attack would have completely deprived it of its combat effectiveness. But Butterfree persisted. Although its stamina had reached the bottom, the offense and defense had changed. A big move like Mega Shockwave is not so easy to use. Daisy immediately fell into stiffness after using it. Unfortunately, Butterfree didn't have a big move that could end the game directly. Although it was good at psychic-type moves, the effect was still not as good as that of insect-type skills, so Butterfree could only use Silver Cyclone to attack again. After suffering a wave of attacks, Chrysanthemum also recovered from its stiff state. Let's use the last skill to decide the winner. Looking at the two Pokémon with scars on their physical strength, Oak said, "That's what I meant." Butterfree's physical strength was running out, and its attribute improvement was almost at its limit. It was almost time to end the battle. Chrysanthemum, the last sunshine. Chrysanthemum couldn't attack when it was stiff, but it had already begun to absorb the energy of the sun. At this moment, it emitted all its energy at once, forming a cluster of bright light, which shot towards Butterfree. Butterfree, use Silver Cyclone with all your strength. Butterfree also flapped its wings hard, sending out silver wind blades, and at the same time, the silver tentacles emitted lavender telekinesis, which merged into the wind blades, further increasing the power of the wind blades. The two Pokémon used up their last strength to launch an attack. At this moment, the victory or defeat was no longer important. Under the attribute restrained, Butterfree's Silver Cyclone is a very practical skill. It can not only attack, but also improve Butterfree itself. Butterfree used Silver Cyclone 5 times. The first time it improved special attack, the second time it improved special defense and special attack, the third time it improved special defense and special attack, and the last time it actually improved all attributes, which greatly increased Butterfree's attributes. With the attribute restrained, it finally blocked the Sun Flame. However, Chrysanthemum lost its combat effectiveness under the severe attribute restraint. We won, we won. Butterfree, we won. Although he was ready to lose, Xuanjian was still very excited about the unexpected victory. Butterfree also flew in the air excitedly, his wings flashing, and he actually realized the new skill Butterfly Dance at this time. Congratulations. Oak put away Chrysanthemum and walked over to congratulate him gracefully. Thank you for letting me learn a lot. You are very strong, but I am just lucky. Your Daisy is well cultivated. If it weren't for the serious attribute restraint that weakened your attack, I might not have one. The attribute of Butterfree plus flying made it only receive a quarter of the damage of grass-type skills. Well, Daisy's skills are still too simple, and there are too few skills of other types. Once it encounters restrained, it can't play its due strength. Later, I will let it learn more other skills to make up for it. Well, I will be stronger when we meet next time. Let's compete again then. It's a deal. After winning the game, Xuanjian got a bonus and a Pokemon egg as a prize as he wished. Seeing the crowd excited by the game, the captain announced the holding of a Pokemon exchange conference, and this decision was unanimously praised by people. Don't you want to go to the Pokemon exchange conference? Duoga took the Pokeball handed over by Xuanjian and smelled it. No, I'm not interested in the exchange meeting. Let's go with you to recover the Pokemon. A truly successful trainer will not easily exchange his own Pokemon. In their eyes, each Pokemon has its own charm, and they will not exchange them just because other Pokemon are excellent. Each of his own Pokemon is carefully cultivated. Not only are they excellent enough, but they also have a deep relationship with him. He will not exchange them. Well, let's go together. Duoga brought Xuanjian to a room and first used the healing machine to roughly treat the injuries on the Pokemon. The healing machine and the healing skills of Pokemon can effectively heal the damage Pokemon suffers and help it recover its physical strength. However, the damage Pokemon suffers in battles can be large or small, obvious or hidden. Large and obvious damage can be effectively recovered through treatment, but those small and hidden damage are difficult to heal through healing skills, and can generally only be slowly recovered by the Pokemon itself. He paused, checked the operating status of the healing machine, and continued. But for trainers, especially trainers like you, the frequency of Pokemon use is very high, and the accumulated hidden damage will not be so easy to recover, which will have a great impact on the future development of the Pokemon. However, this is not a big problem for most trainers, because they will recover many Pokemon in their lifetime, and when the potential of the Pokemon is exhausted, they will choose to cultivate new Pokemon. But won't this make the Pokemon weak? Xuanjian asked doubtfully. His personal experience as a trainer made him understand that cultivating Pokemon is not a simple job. It is not like in the game that you only need to fight to upgrade and evolve. In reality, every Pokemon will encounter bottlenecks during the upgrade and evolution process, and trainers need to spend a lot of effort to cultivate them and grow with them. If strength could be improved simply by replacing some elves with great potential, then there wouldn't be only a few kings in the alliance, and those nobles wouldn't have declined to this extent. Yes. So this is why most trainers find it difficult to break through to the top level in their lifetime. Duoga touched his hair and continued, the growth of Pokemon requires accumulation. Take Butterfree and Dragonite for example. The racial values of the two are very different, but if a Butterfree is carefully cultivated, then when it grows to its peak, it is no weaker than a Dragonite cultivated by an ordinary trainer. That's true, but few people will spend so much effort to cultivate Butterfree. If his Butterfree had not been gifted when it was a caterpillar, he would not have tamed it. However, Xuanjian did not want to tell others that his Butterfree was a shiny Pokemon, so he changed the subject. Then is there any way to recover from hidden injuries as soon as possible? Of course, we breeders are good at this. Duoga said confidently, preparing different foods for Pokemon at different times, giving them some massages and so on can speed up the recovery of these hidden injuries. After all, Pokemon have extremely strong self-healing abilities, and these hidden injuries are just difficult to reach with conventional means. I see. No wonder most breeders' Pokemon are not of high level, but are exceptionally powerful. Of course, although the Pokemon of breeders don't have as much combat experience as professional trainers, They are kept in 100% perfect condition. In terms of long-term potential, the Pokemon of breeders are even better. Duoga said proudly. When he talked about this, he couldn't hide the brilliance on his face. Looking at Duoga, who was talking non-stop, Xuanjian secretly sighed. It seems that Duoga likes the identity of a breeder very much. Although I'm sorry to interrupt your chat, can I bother you for a moment? Just as the two were chatting, a voice interrupted. It was Kurosawa, the opponent Xuanjian met in the rematch. Of course, is there anything I can do for you, Mr. Kurosawa? Xuanjian asked politely. Xuanjian still admired this powerful opponent. I looked around up there but couldn't find you. I asked the crew and found out you were here, so I came here to look for you. We're not interested in the Pokemon exchange meeting, so we didn't go up. I see, but I came here to exchange Pokemon with you this time. Seeing Xuanjian was about to refuse, Kurosawa continued, don't rush to refuse. I'm not exchanging the Pokemon in your hand, but the prize Pokemon egg in your hand. Pokemon egg. Yes, I want to exchange this little guy for that Pokemon egg. Kurosawa took out a Pokeball and released a cute furry Pokemon, an EV. After the little guy appeared, he looked around, then yawned, walked slowly to Xuanjian's side, and fell asleep on Xuanjian's shoes. The cute look made Duoga's eyes sparkle. Can you tell me why you want to exchange Pokemon eggs? In Xuanjian's eyes, the Eevee in front of him was well-bred, with bright fur, which showed that it was well-nourished, and the long fur around its tail and neck was fluffy, which showed that it was carefully cared for. Do you know what kind of elf egg that is? Kurosawa asked instead of answering. Xuanjian shook his head. I don't know. The captain said that there will be surprises only if we don't know when it will hatch. That's true. Kurosawa touched his chin. Do you mind if I spoil your surprise in advance? The third update may not come out, so I'll leave it for now. Tomorrow is Monday, so those who don't have a holiday should go to bed early. Good night. Chapter 30 Arrival at Destination. Don't mind, Mr. Kurosawa, please tell me. I can only tell from its smooth surface and patterns that it is a water-type Pokemon egg. Well, it's good to be able to tell this. This is a clownfish egg. I have always wanted to capture a beautiful Melodica, but I have never had the chance, so I came here when I saw this egg. After hearing Kurosawa's answer and his purpose, Xuanjian also thought about it seriously. Clownfish and Magikarp are the same. Before evolution, they are recognized as losers. After evolution, Melodica and Gyarados are both very powerful Pokemon. The difference is that Gyarados is suitable for attack, while Melodica is suitable for defense. Compared with the ferocious Gyarados, Melodica's beautiful and elegant appearance is undoubtedly more popular, especially for the performers of the gorgeous competition. Melodica is their dream Pokemon. Since clownfish were found to be able to evolve into Melodica, clownfish have been caught in large numbers and are difficult to encounter, so Kurosawa chose to exchange with himself. It's actually a precious clownfish. Mr. Kurosawa told me, aren't you afraid that I will refuse to exchange it? I don't like to do bad things. Of course, the black market price of this egg is indeed higher than that of Eevee. As compensation, I will teach you how to throw the ball. He squatted down and touched the sleeping Eevee. Feeling that his sleep was disturbed, Eevee raised his head in dissatisfaction and bared his teeth at Kurosawa, not giving his trainer any face at all. What a faceless little guy. Kurosawa reluctantly withdrew his hand. Xuanjian felt that it was a little inconvenient for Eevee to lie on his feet, so he tried to reach out and wanted to pick up Eevee. Unexpectedly, Eevee did not refuse, but obediently let Xuanjian fiddle with it, as if Xuanjian was its trainer. I'm jealous of you, Eevee. You like this guy so much? Eevee nodded cutely, which was so cute that people's hearts melted. He also stretched out his pink little tongue to lick Xuanjian's palm to show his goodwill. Seeing the intimate actions of this little guy, Xuanjian couldn't help but agree to the exchange immediately. I always feel that it treats you like a mother. Duoga looked at the cute Eevee and couldn't help but interrupt. Girls have always had no resistance to this kind of furry little cute creature. Really? Is this Eevee still very small? Eevee is very petite and will stop growing soon after birth, so it is difficult to tell its age from its body shape. Nodding, Kurosawa said, I already had Rainbow, Fire Spirit, and Vaporeon before. This Eevee is the child of Rainbow and Vaporeon. It was born not long ago. You can see that this little guy likes you very much. It has never been so close to me. Nanny Xuanjian sniffed and thought to herself, Could it be that I have also turned on the protagonist halo, or the kind that brings the effect of the love of the elves to see the elves? Mr. Kurosawa is really willing to teach me the secret of throwing the ball. Of course, in fact, this secret is not as valuable as you think. After all, although it is difficult to fight against the attributes, it is not a rare thing, which greatly reduces the value of the secret. In addition, this secret is not difficult to explore except for some force techniques. A skilled fighting master can figure it out by himself after seeing it. Xuanjian nodded and touched the Pokeball of Magikarp on his waist. Gyarados and Melodic had too many similarities. He didn't need to train another one for the time being. Moreover, it took him a lot of time and energy to train Magikarp. He had no idea of participating in the gorgeous competition. He didn't have any feelings for the egg he had just bought. It would be nice to exchange it. Eevee's future options were very broad, and it could effectively make up for the weaker aspects of his team. In addition, there were risks in hatching eggs, so it would be a good thing to exchange them. Okay, let's exchange. Xuanjian agreed to Kurosawa's request. Then let's go to the switch. Everyone's Pokeball is bound to personal information. When using a Pokeball to capture an Eevee, there will be a kind of radio wave that will inform the elves of the information and let the elves know who their masters are. Therefore, exchanging elves is not just a matter of exchanging Pokeballs. When they came to the switch, there were many people waiting to exchange here. Xuanjian and Kurosawa waited patiently in line. After the two of them, they put the empty Pokeball and the Pokeball with Eevee on the machine. The machine sucked up the Pokeball, and a burst of electricity flashed, and the exchange was completed. Xuanjian picked up the Pokeball, opened it, and a cute Eevee appeared in front of him. Eevee, I will be your trainer from now on, please give me your guidance. Eevee nodded cutely, still looking sleepy, but flexibly climbed onto Xuanjian's body and fell asleep on his shoulder. It seems that it likes you very much? Kurosawa said. It seems so. Xuanjian said carefully, not daring to move too much, for fear of dropping Eevee from his shoulder. By the way, I was afraid that Eevee would be too naughty and evolve by touching the evolution stone, so I put an unchanging stone on it. If you have decided what you want it to evolve into, just take off the stone. Okay, thank you. Nothing, let's find a quiet place now, let me teach you the secret of throwing Pokeballs. The day after the exchange meeting, the luxury cruise arrived at a destination, Hasa Island, and everyone officially entered the Orange League. And Xuanjian also mastered the technique of throwing the ball under Kurosawa's teaching. Of course, the speed is not fast enough, and more practice is needed. After parting with Kurosawa, Xuanjian and Duoga walked on the dock of Hasa Island, watching people coming and going, and enjoying the hot sunshine of the Orange Alliance. How do we go next? Xuanjian asked Duoga about the next itinerary while admiring the scenery that was completely different from Kanto. Well, since the destination is an uninhabited island, we have to purchase some things first, and then take the dragon tomorrow. Now let's go to the Pokemon Center first. That's perfect, I also plan to challenge the Orange Alliance, and I can just register at the Pokemon Center. At the Pokemon Center, the two met the tropical Joey. Compared with the Joey in Kanto, the Joey in the Orange Islands has a darker complexion and is dressed more hotly. What remains unchanged is the same dedication and enthusiasm as in Kanto. It takes a little time to register for the illustrated book. You two can go around. Hasa Island is a famous trading island in the Orange Islands. There are things from various regions. It's worth a visit. After listening to Joey's advice, the two also wandered around the island after purchasing supplies. What Joey said was true. The things on the market of Hasa Island were indeed varied. The most common ones were various specialties from Kanto and CD, and some were even said to be from the Kalos region. It's a pity that the Alliance banned the trade of Pokemon, otherwise we could see Pokemon from different regions here. Xuanjian thought so. The Alliance banned the trade of Pokemon, and the only legal means of obtaining Pokemon were to conquer them in battle, exchange them, or buy Pokemon eggs for cultivation. Of course, the Pokemon eggs that can be circulated are relatively common, and some of the better Pokemon eggs are difficult to appear on the market. Pokemon eggs are also difficult to distinguish, and there are risks in hatching them. Someone once bought two identical Pokemon eggs, but one hatched a Magikarp and the other hatched a Dratini, with a huge difference in value. So buying Pokemon eggs is a complete gamble. It's boring, let's go back. After walking around, He didn't encounter anything that required bravery or heroism, nor did he see any trainers throwing away the 3 starter Pokémons everywhere, not even Magikarp. Xuanjian, who once again proved that he didn't have the aura of a protagonist, lost interest in shopping. How can it be boring? I have a lot of things I want to buy. That's perfect, you can help me carry the things, Duoga said, and immediately rushed to the stalls, bursting out her woman's shopping instinct, and soon her empty hands were full of things. Soon, Xuanjian became Duoga's exclusive porter. At this moment, Xuanjian fully realized how unwise it was to invite a lady, especially a lady who was not short of money. This was really a painful realization. Chapter 31 Interesting Sailing Stories. For girls who are aroused by the desire to shop and have money, even an extra-large space backpack is never enough. After buying almost everything they could see at the market, Duoga finally returned to the Pokemon Center with Xuanjian, who had become a human transporter, in satisfaction. After packing up their things and taking a night's rest, the two officially began their sailing trip. The blue sea, the golden beach, and the clear sky all told the two who came to the beach that today was a good day for traveling. Come out, riding dragon. Duoga summoned a mighty Pokemon. The overall sea blue is dotted with lavender-spotted skin, and there is a gray shell on the back, which looks very hard. The bumpy things protruding from the shell can be used by the rider to hold the handle to stabilize the rider. Coupled with its gentle temperament, it is a very suitable Pokemon for riding. In ancient times when human technology was not so advanced, dragons were the most important means of transportation for human navigation. Many ancient seafaring families had dragons in their family glories. Even today, dragons are still loved by sailors. After all, in terms of safety and convenience, dragons are undoubtedly better. In addition to dragons' excellent talents, wild dragons almost became extinct. Now they are still protected by the Alliance and are forbidden to be captured at will. Duoga introduced. Xuanjian nodded and asked with some doubts, "This dragon looks quite old. It looks like at least an elite-level Pokemon, and it seems that it fell from the king because of a long period of lack of battle." "Well, this is the Pokemon my father left for me." Speaking of his father, Duoga didn't want to say more and turned to dragons. "Dragon, I'm going to trouble you this time." Dragons nodded meekly. Compared with the small pool at Duoga's home in Hulan City, it would rather swim in this vast ocean. "Let's go." Duoga sat on the back of dragon skillfully. Xuanjian was a little nervous, not knowing whether this dragon would let him ride it. After all, the dragon's acknowledged master was Duoga's father, not Duoga. He trembled and sat on the dragon's back under Duoga's teasing eyes. The dragon did not show any resistance, so Xuanjian was relieved. "Don't worry, dragon is a very docile Pokemon. It will not attack humans at will," Duoga said with a smile. "Sit tight, we are going to set off." Xuanjian quickly grabbed the bulge on the dragon's back. Dragon flapped its fins and swam into the sea. Dragon swam very steadily, and Xuanjian gradually relaxed, blowing the fresh and salty sea breeze, basking in the sun, and began to appreciate the beautiful scenery around. "By the way, everyone come out too." Xuanjian took out the Pokeball and summoned his Pokemon. "Come out, Butterfree, Magikarp, Eevee." As for Charmeleon, who was afraid of water, it clearly stated that it was not interested in the sea, and Zubat did not like this sunny day. After Magikarp came out, it landed in the water and swam around happily. It hadn't come out for air for a long time since leaving Cerulean City. Butterfree flapped its wings happily and flew around, enjoying the different scenery. Eevee quickly climbed onto Xuanjian's shoulder and basked in the sun. He fell asleep. "Squirtle, Lanternfish, and Seahorse, you guys should also come out and enjoy the sunshine." Duoga also released his own Pokemon and let it swim freely. "Magikarp has grown a lot in size recently," Xuanjian said as he watched Magikarp swimming around. "Well, it's probably because of the loss of power. According to records, Magikarp in its natural state can grow up to 1 meter long. Will it not grow any more after that?" "No, after that, their way of obtaining food can no longer meet the nutritional needs of their huge bodies. If they can't evolve, they will die of malnutrition." Xuanjian nodded. "This is the balance of nature. It is naturally difficult to tolerate those beings that destroy the balance. But if it is artificially cultivated, it can grow much bigger. The Magikarp of my ancestor grew to 3 meters. But at that time, its behavior became a little clumsy. It was very flexible before, but later it couldn't even use the water splash jump. Well, I think it's probably because its nervous system has been overloaded and can only barely maintain its life activities. Combining the knowledge of the previous life, Xuanjian guessed. What do you mean? Duoga said that he understood each word, but he couldn't understand it when they were put together. Well, how to explain it is that the body structure of every living thing matches its body size. It's like an electric light. Within a certain range, the stronger the current, the brighter the light. But when the current is too strong, the filament will burn out. The Magikarp's nervous system and the energy transmission system in the body are applicable within a certain range. Within this range, the larger the body size, the more powerful the moves and the faster the reaction speed. But beyond this range, in order to prevent the filament from burning out, the body will spontaneously inhibit these systems from running too fast. The Magikarp was so large that in order not to hurt itself, the body forced it to be unable to perform the water splash jump. Really? That makes sense. Duoga nodded to show that he understood. I thought you didn't understand. Xuanjian smiled. When I talked about this with the people in the village before, their answers were all that's amazing, but I don't understand it at all. Just tell us what to do. Ha. Duoga laughed happily. I felt like you were just like those scientists. By the way, I think you can write this intro paper. Good idea. Why didn't I think of it? Although this topic is only about studying Magikarp, it may not be impossible to apply it to other elves. As long as you can deduce a law from Magikarp, you can get a paper, and the subsequent verification can be done slowly. Sorry, please let me be quiet for a while. Xuanjian said, and quickly took out a notebook and started writing and drawing on it. He suddenly thought that his guess could be written into a research paper. Well, the title is called Research on the Relationship Between Pokémon Size and Combat Power, and it will mainly focus on Magikarp as the main research object. Xuanjian began to write down his experimental plan and the items to be observed on paper. He was completely immersed in it and forgot that he was not on the warm and quiet study room of his home, but on the endless sea. You really forget everything when you think of something. Now we are traveling on the sea, and you are not afraid of falling. Duoga looked at Xuanjian's immersed appearance and said to Chenglong helplessly, Chenglong, please swim slower and more steadily. Chenglong nodded, slowed down, and moved forward steadily. The Pokémon that were playing around also stopped playing and swam quietly, for fear of disturbing Xuanjian. Duoga lifted his long hair that was blown by the sea breeze, put his feet in the cool seawater, propped up his chin and watched Xuanjian write and draw, listened to the continuous sound of waves, and suddenly felt that this trip was really good. Chapter 32 Contact Xiaobo. Xuanjian was completely immersed in his own world and did not notice what Duoga and the Pokémon did for him. He just felt that Longlong was worthy of being an excellent riding Pokémon. There was not much bump when sailing. If there was a chance in the future, he must capture one. Time passed by little. In order to take care of Xuanjian, the two of them naturally slowed down their progress. Seeing that they could not reach the scheduled destination, Duoga checked the sea chart and had to choose another small island as a camping site. When he stepped on the land, Xuanjian found that it was already afternoon. The two of them obviously did not settle on the island in the scheduled plan. After thinking about it for a while, Xuanjian understood the reason. Sorry, I disrupted the scheduled itinerary. Xuanjian knew that sailing was not an easy thing. It was not like the animation where three people sat on Longlong's back and set off. Before starting the journey, the two did a lot of work, including calculating which routes were safer and would not encounter whirlpools, which islands along the way were inhabited and could provide supplies, and which were uninhabited islands and could not stay for too long. In addition, how far to go every day, and where it would be better to rest. These were all calculated by the two based on the information obtained from the Duoga family and the sea charts purchased from Hassa Island. Once one of the links is damaged, it may affect the entire itinerary. It doesn't matter. How is your paper going? After deciding to invest in Xuanjian, Duoga naturally investigated Xuanjian's information and knew that Xuanjian was an intern researcher. A very important paper was very important to him. Duoga was also happy to do such a favor. Besides, the hydrological conditions and climate of the Orange Islands are very good, otherwise the family would not let her and Xuanjian, two novices, take a former king-level dragon to start a sea voyage. The experimental plan has been prepared. We just need to collect data step by step. Xuanjian had already prepared the experimental plan at this time. This plan was not complicated to do, but no one had done it before. The difficulty was the data collection to support this experiment. For some people, what is lacking is inspiration and creativity, but for people like Xuanjian who have no money and power, collecting data is the most fatal. If there is no funding and team support, it will take too long to do this kind of thing alone, and it may even take as long as a researcher's lifetime. Many theories and discoveries were not proposed by no one, but they did not have enough time and energy to verify them. In the end, they gave up when they were just one step away from success and missed the crown of success. Is there anything I can help with? Nobles like Duoga knew more or less about these things, so they thought of supporting Xuanjian in his research. Thank you, I've noticed it. Xuanjian rejected Duoga's kindness. It is a long process for scientific research to produce benefits from discovery. For a major discovery to be truly applied, it requires countless detailed technologies to match it. All of these are costly and time-consuming. Only a behemoth like the Alliance has enough resources to support it. Duoga's family is not qualified. Moreover, for these families, they would not agree to such an investment. Because the payback cycle of such an investment is too long, so long that it can kill a family. At the same time, the benefits of investing in such a discovery are not as good as investing in an elite trainer, but the cost is countless times greater. Sorry, I have to leave for a while. Xuanjian said to Duoga. It's okay, you go and do your own thing first. Duoga signaled Xuanjian not to worry about him and just go and do his own thing. She had no intention of finding out the truth. Everyone has their own secrets, and there is no need to make them clear. Xuanjian nodded, turned and left. Some things are not suitable for outsiders to know. Xuanjian chose an open cliff by the sea. He first summoned Butterfree and Zubat. Butterfree, Zubat, help me patrol the surroundings. Tell me if someone comes. The two elves nodded, flapped their wings and left. Xuanjian then took out a communicator from his backpack. It was the one that Team Rocket got during their trip. I don't know if it can be used in the Orange Islands. Xuanjian turned on the communicator with a little trepidation and started to contact. After a long time, when Xuanjian was about to give up, the screen of the communicator changed, and a bald old man with a white beard appeared on the screen. Hello, Lord Xiaobo. Oh, it's you. Xiaobo was a little surprised to see that it was Xuanjian on the other side. I was wondering why someone would contact me from the Orange Islands. It turns out that it was you who went there. Although the rocket team's communicator can realize long-distance face-to-face calls, it is a machine that can only communicate with one machine or one base, and cannot dial at will like in the Earth mobile era. You are so lucky, kid. Team Rocket has not deployed too many forces in the Orange Islands. Your location is already at the edge of the area where the communicator can be used. It still relies on the signal transmission point in Kanto to work. It will be impossible to contact if it is farther away. Xiaobo touched the beard on his chin and asked, is there anything you want to talk to me about? Lord Xiaobo, I was traveling in the Orange Islands recently and suddenly had an inspiration, so I made an experimental plan. Oh, I thought you were busy playing with that noble lady, but I didn't expect you to still think about research. Not bad. Lord Xiaobo, you are joking. Xuanjian ignored Xiaobo's teasing and continued, my research this time is based on Magikarp as a sample to study the relationship between the size and combat effectiveness of Pokémon. Because a lot of measurement data is required, I would like to ask for your help. Oh, it sounds like a good topic. Give me the experimental plan. Xiaobo said with interest, but suddenly changed his tone. But Xuanjian, you should also know that this kind of data collection takes a lot of time and experience. I know, Lord Xiaobo. That's good to know. Even the Alliance won't do anything without benefits, let alone Team Rocket. We are not a charity and can't help you for free. Besides, your research will not bring you benefits in the short term. I know that, sir, so I have prepared another very valuable intelligence. I think this intelligence is enough as a reward. Really? I'm curious about what you can come up with, little guy. Bixius is out now, and I don't have the authority to approve the transaction. I will contact you when Bixius comes back. In addition, your experimental plan also needs to be evaluated and budgeted to calculate how much it will cost. Okay, sir, you can tell Lord Bixius that my intelligence is very valuable to Team Rocket and can help them win over the Dragon Clan. Really? That's very valuable information. Okay, I'll ask for instructions, and we'll send someone to contact you then. Okay, thank you. Well, I have something to go do. The person who contacts you will bring you new contact methods. Tell me if you find anything. I'm looking forward to your performance. Yes, sir. Xuanjian bowed to the screen, Xiaobo nodded, disconnected the connection, and the screen disappeared. Can you guess what news Xuanjian wants to trade with the rockets? Welcome to leave a comment in the book review area. Also, please vote. Chapter 33 Multi-Track Special Cuisine. After talking to Xiaobo, Xuanjian picked up some dry firewood with the help of 2 elves and returned to the camp. Back at the camp, Duoga was busy with a pile of fruit trees. Seeing Xuanjian, Duoga greeted him. Xuanjian, I didn't expect that there were so many fruit trees on this uninhabited island. I picked some fruit trees and brought them back. Unfortunately, the fruit is too small, so I can only use it to squeeze juice. But squeezing juice is also good, it can replace fresh water. On the island, the source of fresh water is a problem. Generally, people dig wells to get water, but the area of the island where the 2 people stayed was too small, and this oil layer was not enough to filter seawater into fresh water. Although the 2 people carried a lot of fresh water in their space backpacks, it was for emergency use, so they would use it less if they could not use it. Otherwise, when there is a shortage of water, they can only drink Squirtle's saliva. Let me help you. No, you go and set up the tent. I have no camping experience and I don't know how to set up a tent. Leave the cooking to the breeder. I want to make some special dishes. When there is a breeder in the team, the cooking is naturally the breeder's responsibility. Xuanjian consciously went to set up the camp. When he was in the evergreen forest, Xuanjian also followed his father to camp outside many times, so the work of setting up the camp was not unfamiliar to him. By the way, everyone come out to help. Xuanjian released all the elves. At this time, the sun was not so strong, and Zubat had regained his vitality. And Charmeleon was eager to come out because he had stayed in the Pokeball for a day. Everyone helped to set up the tent. Xuanjian commanded. Doing these things with Pokemon can enhance the tacit understanding between everyone and is also an alternative training. Charmeleon, use fire on this piece of ground. Xuanjian chose a higher and flatter ground and ordered Charmeleon to use the jet flame to dry it, and at the same time, it can also remove some bacteria and insects hiding in the soil. Eevee, you also come to help. Dig holes around the ground dried by Charmander, and the hole leads to the low depression as a drainage ditch. The weather conditions on the sea are complicated, and there is often rain. Although the tent is equipped with a waterproof layer, it must be uncomfortable to be submerged in water. After the ground was dried, Xuanjian quickly set up the support and ordered, Butterfield, Gulp, hold the opposite corners of the tent and fly up. The 2 elves grabbed the opposite corners of the tent cloth and flew up. Under Xuanjian's command, they buckled the tent cloth on the support. Xuanjian then fixed it, and a tent was set up. Not bad, everyone did a good job. Xuanjian praised as he looked at the tent. Eevee, who had dug a hole, was so happy that he wanted to jump on Xuanjian, but was stopped by Xuanjian. The little guy was now covered in mud, and if he jumped on him, he would have to wash his clothes again. I'll take Eevee to take a bath, and you guys go pick up some firewood. Charmeleon, go to Duoga and see if there's anything you can help with. Duoga didn't have any fire Pokemon, so cooking might be a little more troublesome. After giving Eevee a bath at the beach, he returned to the camp with a wet little guy in his arms. Duoga had already prepared the meal, and he could smell the fragrance of food from a distance. When he got closer, he found that the elves were already busy eating their food. From their expressions, he knew it must be delicious. Eevee didn't care about sticking to Xuanjian anymore. He jumped down from Xuanjian's arms in a hurry, ran to his own portion, and started eating. I'm a little hungry just looking at this. Xuanjian came to the dining table. Duoga was setting up the table. They adopted the separate dining system, with 3 portions of food in front of each person. Seeing Xuanjian coming back, Duoga greeted him. Xuanjian, you're back. Let's get ready to eat. Okay, thank you Duoga. Try it first. Do these suit your taste? It's really strange food. Xuanjian looked at the food in front of him. It seemed to be mud made of something. It smelled fragrant and made people salivate, but it looked terrible. It looked like the excrement of some animal, making people dare not eat it. Well, maybe it looks ugly, but it tastes good? How about a bite? Xuanjian comforted himself, but there should be a limit to how ugly the appearance is. How can you eat food made like this? After some hesitation, Xuanjian finally turned to other foods. The third plate of food looked normal, but there was a faint smell. The second plate of food was much more normal. It was a plate of golden pie, which looked delicious. Xuanjian picked up a piece of golden pie and put it in his mouth. Then his face changed instantly. Oh my god, what the hell is this? Why does it look like a delicious pie and smell like a delicious pie, but taste like Chinese medicine? How about it? Not bad. Duoga stared at Xuanjian closely, like a cat dog waiting for praise from its owner. Resisting the weird feeling, Xuanjian swallowed the pie whole and said, "This pie is so special. Do you like it?" "It's okay." Xuanjian really couldn't bear to tell the truth, for fear of disappointing Duoga. "Okay, then I'll make it for you often in the future," Duoga said happily. You." Xuanjian was speechless, not knowing what to say. I know you don't like it." Duoga stuck out his tongue playfully. "I'm not one of those young ladies who have never cooked, I'm a breeder. But these foods have a characteristic, the color, fragrance and taste are not all complete, there is always one missing. It is difficult for ordinary people to eat, I usually don't cook easily." Xuanjian resisted the nausea, picked up a spoonful of weird mud, tasted it, and it was really delicious. Why? Isn't it better to have color, fragrance and taste? Well, the cooking school I learned pays attention to imperfection, if one of them is missing. Because this school believes that the nutrition of food is limited, it can't fully show the three aspects of color, fragrance and taste, otherwise the nutrition will be lost. What a weird school. If there is not enough nutrition in the food, just add it. Why would there be such a weird idea? Because this school was born in the process of fleeing famine, all food should be cherished, and every bit of nutrition must be used properly. Because there was not enough food when it was born, there is no concept of food additives in this school, so it can only give up one thing in color, fragrance and taste. Ahem, Duoga, I will cook the food in the future. Such a weird school is really unacceptable. Don't worry, I don't only know how to cook food in this school. Let the breeder cook. Today is a special dish made just for you. If we are delayed next time, I will make other more unique dishes. You know, this is the sea, both of us are novices, if we change the itinerary it is easy to get into danger. Sorry. Xuanjian knew that Duoga was joking with him, and at the same time reminded himself in disguise, and he couldn't help feeling a little ashamed. It's okay. I don't really care about what happened today, I just want to play a little joke with you. I think we get along a little too stiff. I haven't traveled with others before, and I don't know how to get along with friends, so I want to use this joke to liven up the atmosphere. You don't mind, right? No. Xuanjian shook his head. He and Duoga were indeed too unfamiliar with each other. He had always treated her as a young lady and a trading partner, and forgot that she was just a 10-year-old girl, not an old monster in a teenager's skin like himself. Therefore, there was indeed a lack of communication and interaction. This is my first time camping, my first time traveling with others, my first time cooking for people other than my family, and my first time wanting to make a friend. If I don't do well, please give me your advice. Duoga raised a cup filled with freshly squeezed tree juice. This is also my first time traveling with others, and I don't have many friends. Let's help each other. Xuanjian also raised his cup. Cheers to friendship. Wish us a pleasant journey too. The two smiled at each other, clinked their glasses, and drank the sweet juice. Xuanjian felt that they seemed to have become closer. Vote. Chapter 34 Joey. With the cooperation of the two, Duoga's first camping life was quite satisfactory. The next morning, the two packed up and set off again. Since they had only walked half of the journey scheduled for yesterday, if they added the journey planned for today, although Chenglong could complete it by speeding up, it would make Chenglong very tired, so after discussion, the two decided to only walk the journey of yesterday. I didn't expect that there would be a Pokémon Center on such a remote island. Xuanjian looked at the special building on the island not far away in surprise. The two were now outside the island of Baiyan Island, where they should have arrived yesterday. This is a remote island. Although there are residents on the island, there are not many. I didn't expect that there would be a Pokémon Center. Maybe because there are no big islands nearby, so set up a Pokémon Center here to serve these nearby islands. Since there's a Pokémon Center, let's go there to board. Duoga suggested. Okay, it's a good opportunity to trouble Joey to check the Pokémons. The two came to the Pokémon Center, but they didn't expect the door of the Pokémon Center to be closed. Strange, is this Pokémon Center closed? Duoga looked at the locked door and guessed. It shouldn't be. It doesn't look abandoned. Xuanjian looked around. There were no weeds and the glass was clean and bright. It was obvious that someone took care of it regularly. Maybe Joey went out. Let's find a place to eat first. Duoga nodded in agreement. The island was not big, and there were not many residents on the island. There was no market, and people lived a completely self-sufficient life. For the first time, the two had the painful experience of having money but nowhere to spend it. In the end, a young woman named Zhensu treated them in exchange for a necklace that Duoga bought on Hasa Island. Zhensu served them a lunch with scallops as the main dish. This is our specialty seafood, scallops. I wonder if it suits your taste. The two took a bite and immediately felt the delicious taste filling their mouths. Although the cooking skills were not as good as Duoga's, the raw materials were extremely excellent, so it was not inferior to Duoga's cooking. Very delicious, thank you for your hospitality. I'm glad you like it. This kind of scallop is a specialty of ours, and it is also a rare delicacy in the Orange Islands. Unfortunately, the production is not high, so outsiders rarely hear of it. Is that so? Then we are so lucky to be able to taste it. Xuanjian took another sip of the delicious scallop soup, and then asked, "Excuse me, Miss Pearl, do you know if the Pokémon Center here is still open?" "You mean the Pokémon Center?" "Of course it is open. But because Miss Joy is responsible for the entire sea area nearby, she often needs to go out. This sea area seems to be very large. Is Miss Joy in charge of it?" "Yes, although the sea area is very large, there is only one Miss Joy due to the small population. This Miss Joy is more caring and often treats the wild Pokémon nearby, so she is particularly busy." Xuanjian nodded, so that's how it is. After lunch, they said goodbye to Pearl and wandered around the island. After yesterday's communication, the unfamiliarity between the two people was gone a lot, and Duoga also showed her true nature, returning to a lively girl, chattering and talking to Xuanjian non-stop. Xuanjian didn't hate it, because due to the time travel, Xuanjian's child's body was inhabited by a mature soul, so he couldn't play with the children of the same age in the village, and the adults were busy with their own things. When he grew up a little, after Xuanjian studied hard, the people in the village had a huge difference with his way of thinking and cognition, so they became more distant. Although Duoga was only a 10-year-old girl, she was not only very smart, but also because of her aristocratic education since childhood, she was much more mature than ordinary children, but she maintained the unique liveliness and cuteness of a girl, so that the two had a pleasant chat. When the two walked to the beach, Joey was rowing a small boat with a Jigglypuff. "Hey, you are not from the island, are you tourists from outside?" Joey looked at the two unfamiliar faces and asked with a smile. "Hello, Miss Joy, we are trainers passing by here. I'm Xuanjian. My name is Duoga." "Hello, Miss Joy." "Hello." Joy returned the greeting and went ashore with Chansey. This place is quite remote, and there are usually few trainers passing by. By the way, can you do me a favor? Few trainers would refuse Joy's request. First, because Joy helps trainers heal Pokémon, which makes them have a high reputation among trainers. Second, the treatment work of the entire league is contracted by the Joy family. To offend one is equivalent to offending all doctors. Of course, it is not ruled out that some people are simply unable to refuse the request of a beautiful woman. Xuanjian was naturally happy to help Joey and improve his impression of it, so he nodded. "I'm very happy to serve you." "That's great," Joey said happily. "This sea area is very suitable for the growth of scallops due to its special water quality, and the residents here make a living by breeding and catching these scallops. And because the water temperature in this sea area is relatively low, there are no Pokémon like starfish that feed on scallops. But some time ago, a starfish came from nowhere and actually settled here, preying on a large number of scallops. The fisherman tried to stop it, but failed. After that, the starfish was no longer satisfied with preying on scallops, and it took the initiative to destroy the fisherman's breeding bases. The fisherman thought of many ways, but the starfish was extremely cunning and they couldn't catch it. I'm not good at Pokémon battles, and there are no trainers in the sea area, and few people pass by, so I would like to ask you to help us. Leave it to me. After listening to your description, I'm very interested in that starfish. Starfish can evolve into Gem Starfish, a great Pokémon, and one of Xuanjian's favorite water Pokémons. Since he has met it, there is no reason to let it go. And the starfish seems to be very smart, which makes it even more worth capturing. While capturing Pokémon, completing the task assigned by Joey is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That's great, let's go now, Joey said, and took Jigglypuff to the boat. Duoga also summoned Dragonite, and the 2 of them sat on it. If you can't keep up, tell me, Miss Joey said to the 2, and then started paddling. How can I keep up? Duoga was stunned before he finished his sentence. Joey and Jigglypuff quickly paddled the boat, and the boat immediately rushed out like a fly. Is this Joey? This is a fighting Pokémon disguised as a human. Duoga looked at Joey going away and said in disbelief. Ahem, Duoga, if you don't let Dragonite go, we really can't keep up. Xuanjian reminded. Oh, right. Duoga immediately came to his senses, pointed in the direction where Joey was going, and said to Chenglong, Chenglong, keep up with Joey at your fastest speed. Chenglong shouted, flapped his fins vigorously, and rushed out quickly. Compared with the usual slow speed, Chenglong's full-speed swimming was no slower than a speedboat, which made the 2 of them very uncomfortable. Xuanjian comforted himself, just treat it as an adaptation training for the Zygon Gyms project in advance. Please vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Breeder Multitrack. The Dragonite, which was moving at full speed, soon caught up with Joey. After all, no matter how strong humans are, they can't swim as fast as Dragonite, which is considered the top swimming speed among water-type Pokémon. Following Joey, the group quickly arrived at their destination. Miss Joey, you are so fast, Duoga said to Joey, who stopped the boat. I can't help it. I am responsible for such a large sea area and often have to go out for emergency treatment. I have practiced it over time, Joey replied with a smile. Her gentle look made it impossible to imagine that a speed that was almost comparable to that of water-type Pokémon was achieved by her. Is that starfish here? Xuanjian asked curiously. He just felt the water temperature and found that it was about 4 or 5 lower than the water temperature in other areas of the Orange Islands. I don't know where it is hiding, but what is certain is that it must be in the sea area. Because the scallops here are the most delicious. Xuanjian nodded and asked another question, Ms. Joy, I just felt that the seawater temperature here is 4-5 lower than other areas. Why is that? Joy was not angry because Xuanjian asked other questions, but answered patiently, because there is an undercurrent here. It comes from the Iceland in the north, where the Articuno is said to live through underground caves, so the water temperature here is much lower. This undercurrent makes the water quality here better than other places, and dilutes the salt in the seawater, so the scallops grown here are more delicious. So there is an underground undercurrent, so will the starfish hide in it? Impossible, Duoga denied it on behalf of Joey. Although water-type Pokémon can survive as long as there is water, they actually have different requirements for water. Pokémon like starfish live in warmer tropical waters, while Pokémon with ice attributes like white sea lion prefer to live in colder frigid waters. It's okay to live in unsuitable waters for a short period of time, but you will feel uncomfortable, but you will get sick if you live in it for a long time. Of course, some Pokémon have strong adaptability and can survive in any waters. They can even survive in industrial wastewater, such as Magikarp. Xuanjian nodded. That's right. If the water temperature in such a sea area can be reduced by 4-5, then the water temperature in the undercurrent will be even lower, and starfish will not be able to adapt. Then what should we do? We can only wait for it to come out. Joey spread his hands helplessly. This is a waste of time, and will it appear today? Duoga complained. The trip was already delayed by a day, and now it might be delayed again. This is not a good sign. Can't we attract it out? No, Joey spread his hands helplessly. We tried it with bait before, but it didn't bite at all. Bait? Is it because the bait is too ordinary that it is not attractive? No way. We use the most expensive bait. Do you have any more bait? Let me see. Also, I carry some with me. A friend of mine likes it very much. Friends who like to eat bait. Is it a water elf? Xuanjian asked curiously. There are many people in this world who don't like to capture elves, but treat them as friends. Yes, it's a Magikarp. Joey answered Xuanjian's question while taking out the bait and handing it to Duoga. Duoga took the bait, smelled it first, and then actually picked up a small piece and put it in his mouth. Xuanjian looked at Duoga's actions and wanted to say something, but didn't say it in the end. In this world, if you want to succeed, it is not enough to just have talent, you also need to endure a lot of hardships. In the previous life, Xuanjian heard that a doctor personally sipped the patient's urine to judge the disease, but he didn't expect to see a noble girl taste elf food in this life. You should know that many ingredients in elf food are not on the human diet, and there are even some things that humans find disgusting. Xuanjian knows a little about the ingredients of high-level elf baits, and many of the main ingredients are some protein-rich insects. As a breeder and a descendant of a water family, Duoga has no reason not to know this, but she actually tasted those things that ordinary girls find disgusting, which really made Xuanjian admire her. During the chat, Duoga said that she wanted to become a breeding master, and she was not afraid of any hardships. Xuanjian didn't care at the time, just thinking that it was the kind of fighting spirit that a child ignited on a whim, and would soon forget it. Even if he didn't forget it, he would eventually give up because of the difficulties and obstacles along the way, and only think of it in occasional memories. But seeing this scene today, Xuanjian felt that it might not be a distant dream. PFFT. After chewing a little, Duoga spat out the remnants of the bait, wiped the corners of his mouth and said, "This bait is indeed very good for ordinary Pokémon, but for the starfish, there are two problems." What are the problems? First, this bait should be made of the skin shed by insect Pokémon as the main ingredient, which will make the bait richer in energy and more attractive to water Pokémon, but the hardness of this bait will be increased, which may be better for some Pokémon because they have good teeth, and this bait with increased hardness will make them feel very chewy. But for Pokémon in the form of mollusks like starfish, they prefer soft bait. Second, because it uses shed insect skin, the bait is not fresh enough and will not produce delicious juice after being placed in water. For fishing, this will effectively prevent the bait from being soaked in water, and ordinary water Pokémon may not feel the difference, but for starfish, who has tasted the delicious scallops, how could starfish look down on such inferior products? So that's the case. No wonder I can't attract starfish. Joey suddenly realized, what should I do then? Leave it to me. I will use scallops as the main ingredient and make a dish that will definitely suit starfish's taste. Duoga said with great enthusiasm. Then thank you, Joey said, pointing to a small island not far away. Let's go there. There is a camp used by fishermen to take care of the fishing grounds. I think Miss Duoga will also need some tools. Okay, let's go. After landing on the island, Duoga began to prepare bait. In order to ensure that the bait is fresh enough, Xuanjian and Joey gave up the scallops that the fishermen had already caught and went to catch the freshest scallops. Come out, Magikarp. Xuanjian summoned Magikarp as an assistant. It was good enough for him who grew up in the forest to be able to swim, but he was really not as good as Joey's unassisted bare-handed diving skills. Let's go down and help Joey, Xuanjian said to Magikarp. Magikarp nodded and took Xuanjian into the water, and Joey had already started catching scallops. According to Joey, the taste of these scallops varies depending on their age. Younger ones have softer meat but less flavor, older ones have more flavor but less tender meat, so catching the most delicious scallops requires careful selection. Xuanjian didn't understand this. All he needed to do was help Joey hold the scallops she had selected. After picking for a while, Joey signaled Xuanjian to prepare to float up. Suddenly, an undercurrent came out of nowhere and rushed the two of them to the ground. Fortunately, Magikarp reacted in time and helped Xuanjian stabilize his body, but Joey was unfortunately rushed into the seaweed by the undercurrent and her feet were entangled by the seaweed. No, it's been a long time since Joey last took a breath. I must find a way to help her float up. Thinking of this, Xuanjian immediately patted Magikarp, then pointed at Joey, signaling it to take him over. Magikarp understood Xuanjian's meaning and was about to swim over with Xuanjian. At this time, a huge red figure swam over quickly, broke the seaweed, and floated to the surface with Joey. Chapter 36, Conquering the Starfish. Chapter 27, Conquering the Sea Star. Seeing Joey rescued, Xuanjian heaved a sigh of relief and quickly floated up. Miss Joey, are you okay? Xuanjian looked at Joey sitting on the back of a huge Magikarp and asked. I'm fine, I was just tangled up in seaweed. Joey nodded to Xuanjian, indicating that she was fine, and then gently stroked the huge Magikarp that carried her. "Thank you, Magikarp, you saved me again." "Miss Joey, this Magikarp is..." Xuanjian remembered that Joey said that she had a water spirit friend who was used as bait. "Could it be this Magikarp?" "Yes, the friend I'm talking about is it." Joey confirmed Xuanjian's guess. "Your friend is so big." The Magikarp in front of him was 2 feet long, definitely the giant among Magikarps. "Well, we have known each other since childhood, and it has grown up with me." Xuanjian looked at Joey, who was interacting with Magikarp, and asked, "Ms. Joey, I am writing a research paper on the size of Magikarp. Your friend is very special and very helpful to my research. I wonder if I can ask it for help? I just need it to let me test the height of its water splash jump at full power. It won't do anything excessive. Many researchers will use elves to do some cruel experiments. This is an open secret, but in order to achieve research results, everyone will turn a blind eye." "That's no problem," Joey nodded. "Let's give the scallop to Duoga first. We'll talk about this later." The two had just returned to the island and handed the scallop to Duoga. Before they had time to catch their breath, Joey received a new emergency case and hurriedly paddled away in a small boat. The task of catching the starfish could only be completed by the two of them independently. As soon as Joey left, Magikarp also dived into the sea and disappeared, which made Xuanjian's idea of taking the opportunity to do some tests on it fall through. "Forget it, as long as Miss Joy is still here, there are plenty of opportunities." Xuanjian comforted himself, and then stopped thinking about it, and devoted all his efforts to preparing to catch the starfish. With fresh scallops, Duoga's bait was quickly ready. It was a ball of milky white stuff, looking just like freshly cheese with pits removed in the previous life. "Can this thing attract the starfish?" Xuanjian asked, not because he doubted Duoga's ability, but according to Joy's description, the starfish was too cunning. "I don't know, but it's better than waiting in vain." Duoga didn't have much confidence in this. Because they were worried that the starfish would see the clues, the two did not use hooks, but instead spread the bait on the shallows, and then sent water Pokémon to patrol around. According to Joey, the ocean current in the sea area will pass through here, so the ocean current will soon bring the scent of the bait to the entire sea area, and then starfish will definitely be attracted. Will other water-type elves be attracted as well? No, Duoga shook his head. This is specially configured according to starfish's taste. It is fatally attractive only to starfish, and other water-type elves will not be too interested. After spreading the bait, the two began to wait quietly. Time passed little by little. The sun gradually slipped from the middle of the sky and slowly fell to the west. The golden sunlight slanted on the sea, and pieces of golden light appeared, but the two had no intention of appreciating it. The patrolling Pokémon waited for a long time but did not see starfish coming. Both humans and elves were a little anxious. "Maybe starfish is not at home today," Xuanjian joked, trying to comfort Duoga. The idea was Duoga's. After doing so much, she failed to lure starfish out. She must be very sad. Duoga bit his nails and said nothing. As a breeder, Duoga often cooks, so she doesn't have long nails like other girls of the same age, and she doesn't paint them with nail polish or put some beautiful decorations on them. "No," Duoga suddenly said loudly. "What's wrong?" "The amount of bait is wrong, there is less bait. But the other party is very cunning, eating a little here and a little there, creating a visual effect, so we didn't notice it immediately," Duoga said. Xuanjian looked at the baits carefully. If you don't check carefully, it's really hard to find that there are less baits. Could it be that the seawater has dispersed it? Those baits that look slippery and soft should be easily dispersed by the seawater when soaked in water. Impossible. The main ingredient in it is the scallop meat, which will not be soaked in water. It must be the sea star. Maybe the sea star is still on this shoal. Duoga turned to Xuanjian and said, "Take back the Magikarp." "Yes. Come back, Magikarp." Xuanjian guessed Duoga's thoughts and took back the Magikarp. "You guys come back too, Seahorse, Squirtle." Duoga took back Seahorse and Squirtle, and then ordered Lanternfish. "Lanternfish, use 100,000 volts on the beach." Lanternfish nodded, climbed onto a reef, and then put the tentacles on its head into the water. An electric current immediately spread in the water. "Has it left?" Duoga watched Lanternfish send out electricity for a long time, but still no response, and said unwillingly, "Lanternfish." He was about to let Lanternfish stop the skill. "Don't stop yet." Xuanjian stopped Duoga. This beach is too big, the electricity is dispersed, if it is still there, it should be able to hold it. Okay, lanternfish, increase the current output. Lanternfish responded and discharged more vigorously. The starfish hiding in the water really couldn't help it this time, and suddenly jumped up and got out of the charged seawater. Sure enough, it's still here. Xuanjian looked at the starfish whose body turned into sand yellow. This guy is really cunning. He actually used protective color to turn into the same color as Xuanjian and deceived everyone. The starfish that jumped out of the sea reacted quickly, sprayed a stream of water from its mouth, flew up with a recoil, and disappeared in the deep sea. Oh no, it ran away. Xuanjian never thought that the starfish was so cunning that it would escape in this way. It doesn't matter, Duoga was not anxious at all, it's not that easy to escape. In order not to affect the taste, I didn't add paralysis drugs to the bait, but I added a lot of firefly scale powder. This thing is made from the shell of a kind of shellfish that starfish and gem starfish like very much. Once they eat this powder into their stomachs, at night, their whole body will glow. As long as you follow the light, you can easily find the starfish. Look, it's right there. Duoga pointed to a blue light ball in the distance that was tightly attached to the bottom of the water. Duoga, you are so amazing. Xuanjian exclaimed sincerely. Of course, I am a genius. Duoga said proudly. Although they had a guarantee, the two did not dare to be careless. After all, in the vast ocean, if the starfish ran too far, it would be difficult to find it, and today's efforts would be in vain. The two immediately ordered the elves to chase in the direction where starfish had fled. Once the sun began to set, the light would dim very quickly, and the fluorescent starfish in the already darkened seawater was quickly locked, but this cunning starfish used the same trick to escape again. But this time the elves were not panicked, and followed the light source again. After a few times, starfish also found something wrong, and immediately pulled the elves in a circle, and disappeared after crossing a shallow beach. When Xuanjian and Duoga chased after it, they saw a group of little guys who were so anxious that they were spinning in place. So when you chased here, starfish jumped out of the sea again, and then disappeared? Xuanjian asked. The main tracking force Squirtle and Magikarp nodded. Could it be that the firefly scale powder has lost its effect? Xuanjian asked Duoga. No, not so fast. The reason why starfish and gem starfish like shellfish made of firefly scale powder is that this shellfish can make their gems emit brilliant light all night long. The firefly scale powder made of shellfish is more lasting, and it will take about 2 or 3 days to fade away. Duoga shook his head. But it's strange, where's it hiding? Is there a ditch in the sea nearby? If it hid in a ditch, it would make sense. It shouldn't be. The elf saw starfish escaping in the air and didn't fall back into the water. Xuanjian denied Duoga's guess. Maybe we should think about it from another perspective. What idea? We have always considered starfish as a water-type Pokémon, but what if it doesn't indicate a water-type Pokémon? How could starfish not be a water-type Pokémon? Even if there is a psychic type, it must evolve. Duoga didn't figure it out for a while. I just felt it. The seawater at night is more severely affected by the cold current, and the temperature is much lower than during the day. This temperature is unbearable for starfish, but it has lived here for so long and nothing happened. Maybe it is a little special. Duoga didn't understand the connection between these two things. No, it has other warm places to hide. Xuanjian said affirmatively, and without waiting for Duoga to ask, he continued. During the day, the 4 Pokémon patrolled together, but they didn't notice when starfish approached the bait. Although starfish used camouflage, it was too difficult. So, I guess starfish didn't come from the water, but from the land. What? Yes, that must be the case. After a little reasoning, Xuanjian became more and more certain of his guess. The skill of camouflage can not only change the color of starfish, but also change its attributes according to the environment. If it changes itself into other attributes, then it is not difficult to move on land. This is why I say it is not just a water Pokémon. Starfish may be hiding on land at this time. Come out, Zubat, use ultrasound to find starfish. Xuanjian released Zubat, which is suitable for activities at night, although it can move on land after changing its attributes. As a mollusk, starfish will definitely not be able to run far on land. Look for it carefully. Zubat followed the order and continued to fire ultrasonic waves at the ground in a carpet-like manner, so that it could find things and attack starfish at the same time. When Zubat's ultrasonic wave swept through a bunch of bushes, the sound signal reflected in the bushes became abnormal. Then, there was a movement in the bushes. "That's it, Zubat, use air cutting." Zubat's wings immediately flapped, and wind blades shot towards the bushes, cutting through the messy branches and leaves of the bushes, revealing the starfish that had been messed up by the ultrasonic waves. "Zubat, use high-speed stars first, and then use blood-sucking if it's not enough." Since it was the Pokémon he was going to capture, Xuanjian did not let Zubat use poison attacks, but instead used Zubat's strongest single attack skill. Zubat first launched a wave of attacks with high-speed stars, and seeing that Haixinxing had not completely lost its fighting power, it swooped down again and bit Haixinxing fiercely. However, looking at its expression, Xuanjian knew that Haixinxing's blood was not to its taste. After all, compared with warm-blooded animals, Haixinxing's body was cold and it was more appropriate to call it body fluid. Finally, Haixinxing fainted, and Xuanjian threw out the Pokéball and sucked Haixinxing into it. The fainted Haixinxing was captured without any resistance. Chapter 37 An Unexpected Gain. Thank you. If it weren't for your help, it would have been difficult for me to subdue this starfish today. Xuanjian thanked Duoge. Duoge had made great efforts today, and this starfish was also very suitable for her, but she gave it to Xuanjian. "Nothing, we are friends." Duoge shook his head, and then his tone changed, and he said playfully, "And I also saw that you don't have many powerful water elves in your hands. How can you challenge the Hulan gym successfully soon? If you can't challenge successfully, it doesn't mean that my vision is not good. Don't worry about it, this is just my necessary investment." Duoge skipped away, leaving Xuanjian with a smile on his face. After Xuanjian recaptured the starfish, because it was too late, the two did not return to the island where the elf center was located, but rested there for a night. In order not to delay the journey, the two originally planned to leave a letter to Joey and then embark on the journey. As for the mission reward, it was not issued directly by Joey, but by the Alliance. Joey had submitted the mission application a long time ago, but no one took it. Now the mission has been completed, just need to confirm it with Joey. But the two did not expect that Joey would come with many fishermen to thank them early in the morning. In the early morning, under the gentle sea breeze, Xuanjian and Duoge were about to continue their journey. Joey and many fishermen who came to see them off repeatedly thanked and tried to keep them. "Thank you so much for helping us get rid of the trouble caused by the starfish. It's nothing, it's just a small matter. And I also recovered a starfish with good qualifications, so I made a lot of money." "You can't say that," Joey shook his head. "I have too much work, I couldn't take good care of you yesterday, and I was really embarrassed to let you complete the task alone. Why don't you play here for a few days, I will treat you well." "No, we still have time, we need to hurry. According to Duoge, you can only enter the sea and sky abyss at a specific time. If you miss it this year, you have to wait until next year. Is that so? That's a pity. If you weren't in a hurry, I would have wanted to keep you here for a few more days and do my best to be a good host. Thank you for your kindness. We will definitely visit you when we have time in the future." Both of them respected this Joey. After all, it was not easy for one person to support the medical work of a sea area. This Joey also had to solve some troubles caused by elves for the residents from time to time. If he didn't really love elves and this job, it would be difficult to stick to it. "I have reported the situation of your completion of the task. Unfortunately, since it was only the disturbance caused by the starfish, the reward in the end will not be much. I am very sorry about this. The starfish is not a very powerful elf, and the damage caused is not great. Therefore, although Xuanjian and his team spent a lot of effort, they did not get much reward in the end. It's not your fault." Xuanjian shook his head. The evaluation criteria of the Alliance's tasks are formulated according to most situations, which leads to the fact that the labor required for many tasks and the rewards obtained are not equal. This is unavoidable, and it also leads to the generation of many tasteless tasks. For a useless task like this one, in addition to waiting for a natural solution, it is usually put on hold for a long time and the task is repeatedly failed, and the reward and rating are slowly increased to attract people who are capable of solving the problem to solve it. But if this process is followed, it will take a long time, and the losses caused are unbearable for the fishermen. "You have solved the trouble for us, how can we not thank you well? Everyone, bring up your gifts." Joey called out to the fishermen behind him. Hearing Joey's call, an old lady came up tremblingly with the help of her son. She held a water stone and a somewhat old book in her hands, percent an amp, amp, amp. The old woman's teeth had fallen out, and her words were full of the local dialect, so the two could not hear clearly. Joey also knew this, and translated diligently. This old lady is the oldest person here, and according to the local customs, she is the most honorable person. She just said, "Thank you for helping us solve the problem. This is a small gift from the villagers to the two of you, a water stone and a cookbook." The water stone is nothing special, but this cookbook is all about how to make scallop dishes. It is a secret recipe passed down from ancestors. I hope you can use it. Thank you, old lady. Xuanjian and Duoga thanked at the same time, and then took the water stone and the cookbook respectively. Seeing the two accepting the gifts, the old lady smiled kindly, and then walked back to the crowd with the help of her son. "In addition, I have gifts for you too," Joey said, taking out 2 notebooks from the medicine box, one for each of you. Then he handed one of them to Xuanjian. "This one is for you. It records the growth diary of my friend Magikarp. I think you need this." "Of course. Thank you so much, Miss Joey, you helped me a lot. I will definitely mention you in my thesis." Xuanjian excitedly took out a notebook and flipped through it roughly. The font inside gradually matured from immature, recording every bit of Joey and Magikarp. But no matter which one, it follows the most standard practice, measuring the length, weight, skills, and skill power of Magikarp every month. Xuanjian initially just wanted to measure some of the current data of this Magikarp as a special case to prove his point of view, but the growth diary provided by Joey is enough to support a thesis. It's nothing, just a small matter. Seeing that his gift was recognized, Joey was also very happy. "I see that your Magikarp has grown big. You must remember to give it some calcium tablets, otherwise its bones will be easily fractured and it will become very irritable." "Thank you for your reminder." Xuanjian thanked again. This is Joey's experience. Even Duoga, a breeder, doesn't know. After all, most of Duoga's knowledge now comes from books, and there are some things that you don't know without personal experience. In addition, this book is for Duoga. Joey handed another book to Duoga. "Everyone says that breeders are half doctors, and I think doctors are also half breeders. This notebook records some of my experiences and knowledge that is not on the book. I hope you can use it." "Thank you very much, it will definitely be of great help to me." Duoga also happily took the notebook. In the process of breeding, elves will inevitably encounter illness and injury. At this time, it is really great to have the experience of a Joey to guide. "Okay, I won't keep you here any longer. You guys should leave soon. Remember to come and play when you are free. I will definitely make time to accompany you then." Before Joey finished speaking, Jigglypuff suddenly rushed over and interrupted Joey. Lucky, Jigglypuff said to Joey. "What? The little sea lion has a high fever again. Well, let's go now." Joey quickly pushed the small boat beside him into the sea, took Jigglypuff on it, and left quickly. "Why do I feel that Joey may not have time next time?" Duoga looked at Joey, who was so busy that she even forgot to say hello, and said helplessly. "Don't worry about such details. Miss Joey is so busy, and she has prepared such a thoughtful gift for us. It's really not easy. I just feel a little emotional." As Joey left, the two said goodbye to the fisherman. With a farewell of the fisherman, the two got on the dragon again and started a new day's journey. Thanks to Bings and Luli for the reward. Chapter 38 The Victims. After taming the starfish, the two said goodbye to everyone and started their journey again. On this day, the wind was calm and the two were busy with their own things on the back of the dragon, completely immersed in their own world. Woo woo, the dragon suddenly stopped and let out a low hum, awakening the two people who were immersed in their own world. "Chenglong, what's wrong?" Duoga put away the newly acquired Joey's notes and looked up and asked. Chenglong lowered his head, picked up a man from the sea and put him on his back. "Ah, a dead man." Duoga was shocked to see the purple face of the man put in front of him. "Still alive," Xuanjian said. After awakening from the power of Changpan, his physical fitness did not increase much, but his perception continued to strengthen. Just like now, even without contact, he could feel that there was still a trace of vitality stubbornly lingering in this person's body. Although he didn't want to be a good person and was afraid of getting into trouble, since he had encountered it, it would be unbearable to watch him die without saving him. So the two hurriedly gave some first aid to the rescued person. "There is no water in the lungs?" The cause of the coma is long-term hunger and poisoning. Duoga gave a conclusion after a quick inspection and proposed a solution. First give him some juice we brought, and then give him an antidote. Okay. Xuanjian took out juice from his bag and let the other person drink a little, then took out an antidote and poured it into his mouth, and then took a sip of juice and let it be swallowed together with the antidote. After taking the juice and antidote, the purple on the man's face faded a little, but he still did not wake up. Duoga shook his head. No, this person is too weak. If you want to save him, you must find a special doctor. His antidote is suitable for travel use and works on most toxins, but the relative effect is not obvious. It can only play a delaying role, and the person in front of him is clearly poisoned. Which island is the nearest to the Pokémon Center? Xuanjian asked. Generally, there may not be powerful doctors on small islands, but there must be powerful doctors in places with Pokémon centers, and Joey can also provide more effective treatment. Let me check it. Duoga took out the sea chart from his bag, checked it quickly and said, the nearest one is Pokken Island, which is in the southwest. Okay, then we'll go there. Okay, Duoga nodded, and then said, Xuanjian, if Longlong wants to reach the fastest speed, he needs the cooperation of the trainer. I need to take care of him, so I can only trouble you. No problem. Longlong, this is our first cooperation. Quing, please give me more advice. Longlong called out meekly to express his agreement. He took out some bandages from his bag and fixed the unconscious man on Longlong's back to prevent him from falling off. After Xuanjian confirmed that Duoga was already seated, he said, get ready, let's go. Longlong can swim at a very fast speed, which is not inferior to the flying speed of bird Pokémon, but few Longlong will do so under natural conditions. Because when they swim at this speed, all their minds are focused on how to exert force and how to deal with every water flow around them. They can't pay attention to the situation in front of them at all, so they often bump into other things. But it is different with the cooperation of the trainer. The trainer can help Longlong choose the route, judge whether there are obstacles ahead, and give orders in time according to the road conditions to let Longlong avoid danger. If Longlong completely trusts the trainer, then it will devote itself to exerting force and handling water flow, bursting out at a very fast speed. On the contrary, if Longlong does not trust the trainer, then it cannot devote itself, so the speed will be greatly reduced. This kind of cooperation is very challenging for the level of the trainer, which is why the Zyugan Gym adopts the competition method of water racing. The Longlong that Xuanjian and his friends ride is not Xuanjian's Pokémon, and Xuanjian is not the kind of Pokémon master who can get started immediately after getting the Pokémon and let the Pokémon burst out with the strongest power, so the cooperation between one person and one pet naturally cannot reach the level of tacit understanding. Xuanjian stood on Longlong's back and looked at the excited Longlong under the seat. This guy is worthy of being a former king-level Pokémon, with a very fast reaction speed. As soon as he saw the obstacle, before he had time to remind him, it had already made a perfect response. However, although this saves a lot of trouble, it also makes Xuanjian feel very embarrassed, as he seems to be unable to help at all. Although Changlong would not trust Xuanjian's judgment and it was impossible for him to use all his energy to accelerate, Xuanjian still tried his best to supplement and remind him, wanting to share some of Changlong's pressure and make it less tired. But after a while, Xuanjian found that he was always wasting his efforts and it didn't work. Changlong is too strong, I can't command him at all. Maybe I can change the way. Xuanjian thought. In addition to the reefs, the obstacles on the sea surface also include those swimming water Pokémon. It may not have much impact when driving at low speed, but if the speed is increased, it will also be injured if it hits. Anyway, his experience and reaction are not as good as Changlong. Xuanjian simply closed his eyes, calmed his mind, and stimulated the ray of Changpan power in his body. The stimulated Changpan power kept swinging, sending out circles of ripples, which kept echoing back. When the ripples intersected, light spots appeared in Xuanjian's perception, forming a wonderful three-dimensional picture. There were countless light spots on the picture, which looked messy. This is the usage Xuanjian discovered when he was studying the power of Changpan. Through the resonance of Changpan's power with the vitality of the creatures in the surrounding environment, he can sense the life around him. Eliminate those ordinary lives. Xuanjian thought subconsciously, so he eliminated the creatures with weaker vitality. Suddenly, the picture became much cleaner, making Xuanjian feel clear in his mind and able to expand his perception. At this time, The picture is composed of 4 different light spots as the center of the circle, representing the 3 people and 1 pet on his side, and the surrounding light spots fall around prototype 2 according to the distance. As Changlong moves forward, the light spots on the picture keep changing. Changlong, there is a guy floating up in front. Xuanjian noticed that there was a light spot in the direction of Changlong's advance on the picture, and its movement trajectory intersected with the direction of Changlong's advance. So he spoke to remind him. But unfortunately, Changlong didn't know whether he didn't understand Xuanjian's words, or he understood but didn't believe it, and was indifferent to it. Xuanjian could only watch the 2 points gradually approach and finally overlap. When the 2 points overlapped, Xuanjian suddenly felt Changlong's body shake, obviously hitting something. Looking at the light spot, the small light spot had been knocked away by Changlong's big light spot. But the light spot representing Changlong also dimmed, obviously injured. Changlong, I can sense the trajectory of life movement in places that the eyes cannot see. Leave their prediction to me. At high speed, no matter how light or small the collision is, it is very fatal. Changlong can easily avoid dead objects by his own judgment, but it is difficult to judge living and moving spirits. If I had a word to remind him, it would definitely help Changlong a lot. There is something floating up ahead, be careful. Xuanjian reminded again. Perhaps because Changlong suffered a loss last time, this time it listened to Xuanjian's advice and paid more attention to it. Xuanjian looked at another light spot that was about to collide with a group of people, and then felt that the light spot representing Jackie Chan at the center of the circle was tilted and let the light spot pass. Xuanjian closed his eyes and tried his best to sense, so he naturally did not see Changlong make a sideways movement to avoid another floating stinging jellyfish. Something is coming from the right. Xuanjian reminded again, and with a reminder, Changlong successfully avoided it again. After 2 times of cooperation, the man and the elf became more and more tacit. Xuanjian was responsible for sensing the elves that might cause collisions, and Changlong was responsible for swimming and avoiding non-living obstacles. With such cooperation, Changlong's speed increased again. Even with Changlong's high speed, the group arrived at Yagan Island an hour later. The 2 of them breathed a sigh of relief after quickly sending the patient to the elf center. Do you need to register or something? Xuanjian asked. No, I found an illustrated book in his pocket when I was taking care of him just now. It has been given to Joey. That's good. Xuanjian breathed a sigh of relief, and then suddenly felt a black screen in front of his eyes. Fortunately, Duoga quickly supported him. What's wrong? Duoga asked worriedly. It's okay. Just a little weak. Xuanjian said that he was fine and asked Duoga to help him sit down. In order to cooperate with Changlong, he used the power of Changpan to sense the water elves in the water and help Changlong avoid them. This lasted for an hour. With Xuanjian's newly awakened power of Changpan, it was good enough that he could hold on. It was just a little exhaustion, not a big problem. Although he didn't know what Xuanjian had done, Duoga knew that he must have done a lot to cooperate with Changlong, and it was normal for him to be tired now. Changlong should be a little tired, and he also suffered some minor injuries. Let's rest here for a night. Xuanjian suggested. Although they avoided the elves and most obstacles, some small obstacles would also cause damage to Changlong at high speed, and they would injure the swimming fins, so Changlong also needed to recuperate. Duoga also agreed with Xuanjian's suggestion. Well, I don't know if that person will wake up tomorrow. As lifesavers, how can we do good deeds without leaving our names? The training is finally over. But it's the new year, and I really don't have time to write manuscripts, so I can only keep it up twice a day. Chapter 39, The Contest on Pokken Island. It was still early, so Xuanjian and Duoga decided to walk around Pokken Island. Pokken Island is not large in area, and its geographical location is not important, but it is extremely prosperous. The reason is that Pokken Island has rich mineral deposits. In addition to a thin layer of soil covering the surface, Pokken Island is almost entirely made of glass ore. And the most amazing thing is that Pokken Island is on an active volcano, and a large amount of glass is formed in the hot volcanic lava every year. Through the channels that the islanders have long designed, it flows out and condenses into new high-purity glass, constantly replenishing the consumption of the mined glass ore. Pokken Island has almost no agricultural products, and all daily necessities need to be imported. What maintains this trade is the glass produced continuously from here. It is not possible to make a lot of money just by selling raw glass ore. The islanders realized this very early, so they started the fine processing of glass a long time ago and passed down this craft. Today, the crystal crafts from Pokémon Island account for more than half of the glass crafts in the entire alliance. For girls from any world, crystal clear glass products have a fatal attraction to them. Duoga has already bought a lot. Duoga, you can buy these things in other places, right? There is no need to buy so much here, right? Xuanjian couldn't help asking when he saw that his space backpack was about to be full and he might become a porter again. Where else can you find such a wide variety of handicrafts? How can you buy enough at once? What a powerful reason. Duoga also knew that Xuanjian was not very interested in shopping, so he changed the subject. When I was shopping just now, there was a statue of Onyx in those stores. I asked the boss, and the boss told me that there is a legend on this island, saying that there is an onyx made of crystal on the island. It is said that the earliest inspiration for these glass craftsmen about glass products came from that crystal onyx. Are you interested in this topic? It's okay. Huh? Unexpectedly cold. Duoga looked at her companions strangely. Based on her understanding of her companions, when she encountered such a rare Pokémon, shouldn't her eyes light up and she can't wait to study it immediately? Isn't it just a crystal onyx? What's so strange about it? Xuanjian said. Onyx's food is mainly soil and rocks. It is not surprising that a large amount of crystal ore appears on this island rich in glass ore. If onyx feeds on crystal ore, it is not surprising to accumulate it for a long time and become a crystal onyx. Besides, the animation in the previous life has clearly told me that there is indeed a crystal onyx here. Don't you want to capture it? Duoga asked curiously. Xuanjian shook his head, not interested. Although crystal onyx is a shiny Pokémon, its only advantage over ordinary onyx is that it is not afraid of water and can catch the opponent off guard. But its resistance to fire is also much lower than that of ordinary onyx. It is hard to say which one is better, fearing fire or fearing water. After all, there are many water Pokémon in terms of quantity and type, but most water Pokémon have low special attacks, while fire Pokémon generally have high special attacks, and most water and fire skills are special attacks. Most importantly, although Onyx looks huge, it is actually strong on the outside but weak on the inside, and its racial value is not strong. It can only take on the main force of the team when it evolves into Steelix. Whether Crystal Onyx can evolve is still a question worth discussing. However, people have not yet discovered how Steelix can evolve, so Crystal Onyx, which can overcome its weakness to water, is still attractive. But I don't plan to be a Pokémon hunter, so there's no need to capture the Pokémon that I don't deserve to cultivate. Every Pokéball I have is very precious. Forget it then. Duoga saw that Xuanjian was not interested, and although he didn't know why, he didn't ask again. But Xuanjian didn't want to stop, for fear that Duoga's attention would return to shopping. But this island is mainly engaged in processing glass products, so there are many fire Pokémon on the island. Fire Pokémon are extremely rare in the Orange Islands, which are mainly sea areas, but almost every family on this island has them. Yes, by the way, speaking of this, I remembered something. Duoga said, taking out a flyer from his bag and handing it to Xuanjian. I almost forgot, when I was buying things just now, the boss gave me one. I think you should be interested. Xuanjian opened the flyer, and saw that it said, Fire Pokémon Competition. After quickly reading the flyer, Xuanjian was indeed attracted. Interesting. I want to participate. It turned out that the flyer said that in order to better cultivate fire Pokémon, a fire Pokémon competition will be held on the island. The rules of the competition also have a strong flavor of the Orange League, advocating practicality. The stepping stone to the competition is not the common elf confrontation, but the control and power of fire skills. The elf confrontation comes later. I knew you would be interested, but can you give me the reward after winning? Duoga stared at Xuanjian expectantly. No problem. Xuanjian nodded. The reward for this competition is a handicraft made by the most famous master on the island, and the specific style can be chosen by yourself. Xuanjian is not interested in this, and it doesn't matter if he gives it to Duoga. Thank you so much. Hearing Xuanjian's promise, Duoga blushed with excitement. Then let's go now. Duoga couldn't wait to drag Xuanjian to the competition site. The competition venue is set in a square not far from the market. Probably because of the preliminary round, the popularity of the competition venue is not very high. Xuanjian quickly signed up and was taken to the venue by a referee. The first round tests the control of the elves. The elves must use fire skills to spray flames through this wooden ring and light the torch, but they must not burn the wooden ring at the same time to pass. Xuanjian looked at the bowl-sized ring and nodded, I understand. This test is not easy. The flames sprayed by the fire elves are very hot. If they are not restrained, they will easily burn the ring, which will result in failure. Come out, Charmeleon. Xuanjian summoned Charmeleon, explained it to it, and let it go forward to play freely. The Charmeleon came to the specified closest distance, looked at it for a while, then opened its mouth and spit out a thin fire snake from its mouth, passing through the middle of the ring and landing accurately on the torch, lighting the torch. Passed. The referee checked and found that the ring did not change at all, so he announced loudly. The second competition is to test the power of fire. It requires melting this piece of glass in about a minute. The referee pointed to a piece of glass the size of a baby's head and said, Is it okay, Charmeleon? Xuanjian asked. Charmeleon nodded. This was too simple. Okay, then get ready 3, 2, 1, start the countdown. At the referee's command, Charmeleon immediately raised his head and blew out a ball of flames from his mouth, surrounding the glass. This was the fire skill Flame Vortex. After spitting out a flame vortex, Charmeleon did not make any other moves. He imitated Xuanjian and crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking confident. When the flames dissipated, there was only a pool of melted glass liquid where the glass ore was originally placed, and less than 20 seconds had passed. Passed, the referee announced. Please follow me, and we will enter the finals. Hey, didn't you just pass the screening? How come you are directly in the finals? Did only one contestant pass the test? Xuanjian asked curiously. The first of these two tests should be the most difficult for fire elves, while the second one is simple. After all, most elves have great explosive power but lack control. But for the fire elves of the glass craftsmen on the island, controlling the power of fire skills should be their forte, right? You two follow me first, and I will explain the reason to you along the way. Updates are delivered in advance. Chapter 40, The Battle of the Three Fire-type Families. Glass products need to be calcined at high temperatures when they are manufactured, and the glass craftsmen on Pokémon Island are no exception. And in this world, is there anything better than a fire Pokémon that can control fire? No matter how you look at it, it is difficult for glass craftsmen to find better assistants than fire elves. Therefore, cultivating fire elves has become another tradition of Pokémon Island. Pokémon Island is also proud of being the only island in the Orange Islands that is good at fire, and even thought about setting up a fire gym on Pokémon Island. Although this idea eventually failed, it did not prevent the islanders from continuing to be proud. But not long ago, this pride was torn off from their faces, thrown to the ground, and stepped on a few times. A trainer who specializes in fire came to Pokémon Island. He challenged all the fire elves on the island one by one and defeated them miserably. If it was just like this, it would be fine. After all, the main occupation of these glass craftsmen is to make glass crafts rather than trainers. Losing to others is just a loss of face. But unexpectedly, the trainer thought that the islanders' fire-type Pokémon were deformed Pokémon that had gone the wrong way and must be corrected. He wanted to take these fire-type Pokémon away and lead them to the right path. But fire-type Pokémon are closely related to the glass manufacturing industry, so the islanders naturally cannot allow this to happen, but they cannot beat the other party, so they had to come up with a bet. A fire-type Pokémon competition will be held on the island. If the trainer wins the championship, the islanders will let him take the Pokémon away. If he fails to win the championship, he will leave Pokémon Island on his own. The trainers who participated in the competition in the past few days have all lost to the other party, and today is the last day of the agreed date. If no one can win, then the islanders will lose. If such a guy comes to make trouble, will Miss Junsha or the Alliance not care? Xuanjian asked strangely. We don't have a good relationship with him. The referee stammered. But Pokémon Island makes a living by glass manufacturing. Without these fire-type Pokémon, it will be greatly affected, right? This kind of thing can't be ignored because of a little personal grudge, right? Duoge raised doubts. The other party did not speak, unwilling to answer the question. Xuanjian stopped. If you don't explain the matter clearly, we will not go with you. This matter seems to be very complicated, and it is not a good idea to get involved casually. I am not a passionate young man, There is no need to stand up for them. The referee who led the way blushed. Pokémon Island is the economic pillar of the Orange Islands, and it will not bow to them easily. We did not report this matter. Xuanjian and Duoga looked at each other helplessly. Well, you are really too stubborn. You don't understand. Before, we applied to build a fire gym, but it was rejected by the Alliance on the grounds that the trainer's strength was not enough. For this reason, we almost broke up with the Alliance. If we bow to the Orange Alliance, the fact that Pokémon Island has no strength will be confirmed, and the fire gym will never be built. This will be a shame for Pokémon Island. The other party roared loudly. Xuanjian and Duoga complained in their hearts at the same time. It's as if you are very strong if you don't bow to the Orange League. Oh, it's troublesome to get involved in this kind of struggle. I suddenly don't want to participate in the competition. That's right. If we two little trainers help you, won't we offend the league? It's not worth it for such a small reward. For this kind of thing, neither of them wanted to care. It's really not worth it to spend a lot of effort and offend people. But if the other party can offer enough price, Xuanjian doesn't mind making a move. The other party looked at the young man and woman, listened to their words, and knew that the other party was going to make a fortune, but there was nothing he could do. Who made him need them? Then you two, name a price. The tone was calm, without any anger, and it looked like he had been prepared. Xuanjian signaled Duoga to speak. For a noble lady with great power, negotiation is a necessary skill. Although he has lived a lifetime, Xuanjian is still not as good as Duoga in this matter. We don't really understand either. Please tell us what price you can offer first. The biggest taboo in negotiation is to reveal your bottom line first. Duoga did not give a price. We don't have time to play negotiation games with you. The price is 1,000 alliance points. If you don't want it, forget it. Seeing that the two young people were not easy to fool, the other party directly revealed the bottom line. After all, time was very tight and it was not suitable for bargaining. Deal. Seeing the other party's determined face, Duoga felt that it was impossible to ask for more, so he agreed. 1,000 alliance points is not a small amount, enough to exchange for a starter Pokemon. Then please come with me, but let me be frank. If you lose, you won't get a single point. Of course. Soon, the two met the trainer who specialized in fire. The other party looked about 14 or 15 years old, with red hair like flames, dark skin, and a strong body. He was sitting on a chair, waiting for the challenger to arrive. Seeing the three people coming in, the other party said, "Here are two more people who are just trying to get by. You want to beat me without being trainers of sufficient weight? You are still dreaming." "Who is dreaming?" "We will know after the fight. Come out, Charmeleon." Since it is a fire-type confrontation and he only has one fire-type Pokemon, there is nothing to hide. "Not bad, Charmeleon. In that case, it's decided that you should go, Infernape." A flash of light passed, and a spirited Infernape appeared in front of everyone. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Ritsu from Hone." Xuanjian also responded politely. "Hello, I'm Xuanjian from Kanto." Ritsu nodded. "Then let's start. You attack first." "Well, then I won't be polite." Charmeleon, Dragon's Fury. Infernape, spray flames to block it. Flames spurted out of Ritsu's Infernape's mouth, collided with Dragon's Fury, and exploded in the air. Commanding Infernape to block Charmeleon's attack, Lai did not continue to attack, but said, "Another trainer who has gone astray, only knows this opportunistic method, and does not understand that as a fire-type Pokemon, what is most needed is a frontal attack, using unparalleled explosive power to break all obstacles." Xuanjian looked at Lai. Through the introduction of the guide referee, he already knew that the other party was a very second-year person, who believed that the way of fire-type Pokemon was to unscrupulously exert their own enthusiasm and win with the most extreme explosive power. However, Xuanjian, who was deeply influenced by the Chinese culture of his previous life, believed that everything should not be too extreme, otherwise it would be easy to break. While the fire-type Pokemon has a strong explosive power, it must learn to control it exquisitely and use every bit of energy with the highest efficiency. The two people's ideas are diametrically opposed. However, Lai's words still made Xuanjian a little excited. This kind of trainer who practices his own path is very rare, but if they don't die, their final achievements will not be bad. It is really lucky to meet one. Xuanjian, who didn't have the magical skill of talking nonsense, naturally wouldn't dream of convincing the other party with his own ideas. What he wanted to do was to have a good fight to see the strengths and weaknesses of both sides and help himself improve better. Thinking of this, Xuanjian felt that he was about to burn. No matter what path you take, it's all fake. Only strength is real. Let the result of this game speak for itself. Frank, I like it. Lai agreed with Xuanjian's words very much. This is how a trainer of fire-type Pokemon should be. He began to like this kid a little more. Infernape. Charmer. Jet Flames. Both sides ordered at the same time. Chapter 41, The Battle of Different Fire Concepts. Under the orders of the two trainers, the two Pokemon simultaneously used Jet Flames. The hot flames met and collided in the air. Both sides tried to suppress the other, but the power of their skills was not much different, and the situation suddenly became deadlocked. We don't want to have a protracted battle, Infernape, jump up and avoid it. Lai ordered. The stalemate would definitely be disadvantageous for himself who took the explosive route. Charmer, let him see our new move, Fangs and Fire. Xuanjian also ordered when he saw the other party jump up. Fangs and Fire is a new move that Xuanjian and Charmer have worked together to develop during this period. It is a move created by absorbing the characteristics of the skills of Sparks and Big Word Explosion. Because it is very similar to the fire-style Xuanjian Hojutsu in Naruto, it is named Fangs and Fire. Charmer, who received the order, took a deep breath, brewed for a while, and then sprayed a group of fireballs to hit Infernape who had just landed. Fangs and Fire flew towards Infernape like balloons suspended in the air, spreading out layer by layer, surrounding Infernape, and confining it to a small area. This kind of weak move is meaningless. Infernape, Flame Fist. After receiving the order, Infernape immediately ignited flames on both fists and faced the group of celestial flames. The celestial flames were not very fast and were easily hit. But the celestial flames exploded immediately when they touched the flame fist, and the explosion of one celestial flame immediately caused a chain reaction, and other celestial flames also exploded. The scattered flames did little damage to Infernape, which was also a fire-type Pokemon, but the impact of the explosion made Infernape very uncomfortable. Xuanjian looked at Infernape, who was a little dazed by the impact of the explosion, and said, "The moves we developed with great effort are not so easy to break. The impact of the explosion is not good, right? This move was developed to deal with those Pokemon that are small in size, fast in speed, and good in flexibility. To deal with those Pokemon, the Sparks are too weak, and the Jets of Flames are not easy to hit, but the Celestial Flames just make up for the shortcomings of both, and the trigger attack can also limit them." Lai suffered a loss, but his fighting spirit was rising. Interesting, come again. Infernape, Flame Chariot. Infernape was also infected by his master's fighting spirit. He roared, and flames spurted out of his mouth. Then he did a front flip and turned into a giant flaming wheel and pressed over. "I've been waiting for you, Charmeleon, Big Word Explosion." Seeing the opponent pressing over, Charmeleon opened his mouth and used the skill that had been accumulated for a long time. A big word of flame spurted out of his mouth and headed towards the flame chariot. The two collided and produced a violent explosion. The explosion raised a cloud of dust, blurring everyone's vision, but Lai was unmoved and ordered, "Infernape, Explosive Fist." "What?" Xuanjian was surprised that the other party dared to issue an order when the vision was unclear, but he did not dare to neglect it. "Charmer, prepare to attack with Dragon Claw. You know the level of your own Pokemon. It is impossible for it to lose its combat effectiveness so quickly. Although this situation looks chaotic, it is actually very simple." Lai said proudly, "This time, let you taste our new tricks." Before the smoke dissipated, Infernape rushed over, with fluctuating flames on its clenched fists. "That looks bad." Xuanjian found something wrong, but it was too late. Infernape's fist hit Charmeleon's claws together. Charmeleon's claws immediately felt a shock, and then were opened powerlessly. The flaming fist hit Charmeleon's jaw heavily. Charmeleon only had time to try to lean back to weaken some of the attack. Infernape's fist finally landed on Charmeleon's side face, knocking it out. Looking at the flying Charmeleon, Lai did not let the Infernape chase after it, but asked, "How is it? Is my explosive flame fist good?" "It's a good idea. Use the sonic fist to compress and control the flames. When the enemy attacks, the exploding flames will make the opponent's force in vain, and the shock caused by the sonic fist will paralyze the opponent, so that he has no power to resist. It's a genius idea. In addition to the opponent's attack characteristics of bursting all the power in an instant, If it weren't for the weakening of the attributes and the fact that Charmeleon did not miss the opportunity to train its body, the previous blow could directly make Charmeleon lose its combat effectiveness. Haha, you really know what's good. Your thanks in fire is not bad either. Charmeleon, are you okay? Xuanjian asked. Charmeleon got up from the ground, shook his head, and spit out a bloody broken tooth. The previous blow was very heavy, causing it great damage, which was more serious than all the damage caused by his attacks on Infernape. However, this did not make it retreat, and the fighting spirit in his eyes became more turbulent. Xuanjian also breathed a sigh of relief. Although it was greatly damaged, it was good that it did not lose its combat effectiveness. As for the broken teeth, they will grow back soon. Come on, Charmeleon, Immortal Fire. Let's go to Infernape, Flame Chariot. The Flame Chariot faced the Immortal Fire. Although each explosion of the Immortal Fire would slow down its speed, it did not stop in the end and broke through the blockade of the Immortal Fire. Seeing that the opponent broke through the blockade of the Immortal Fire, Xuanjian was not surprised and gave the order he had prepared long ago: Charmeleon, Flame Vortex. Charmeleon had been accumulating power for a long time. At this moment, as soon as the order came out, it sprayed out flames without any hesitation, turning into vortex and sucking the Flame Chariot into it. How come it's so fast? Lie, who didn't know that the opponent had been accumulating power for a long time, was surprised. Flame Vortex is a very energy-consuming skill, which usually requires a process of accumulating power. He originally thought that with the speed of the Flame Chariot, he could completely hit the opponent before the opponent used the skill, but he didn't expect to miscalculate. The Flame Chariot had been in motion for a long time, but was first blocked by the Phoenix Fire, and its power had been greatly consumed. When it encountered the Flame Vortex again, its power was completely exhausted. Infernape's Flame Chariot state was lifted, and it was immediately drawn into the Flame Vortex. The blazing flames surrounded Infernape, spinning into vortex, making Infernape unable to move. I won't hold back, it's almost time to end. Xuanjian did not wait for the skill to end. Through the previous contest, he had learned enough things. Now it was time to fight for the alliance points. Charmer, Dragon's Fury. The damage caused by Dragon's Fury, a dragon-type skill that does not have attribute immunity, was enough to deal with Infernape. P.S. The power of the same type as have attribute immunity, Infernape, tried to break free. Lai also knew that the situation was critical. If Infernape was hit, he would definitely lose. Hearing the order of his trainer, Infernape struggled even harder, but it didn't have much effect. The vortex formed by the flames tightly bound it in place. However, as the flames took their toll on it, Infernape's strength slowly dropped, and it seemed to be showing signs of activating its fire attribute. However, Charmeleon would not give it this chance, and a stream of blue energy quickly spurted out of its mouth, accurately hitting Infernape trapped in the flame vortex. It's over. Everyone thought so. With Infernape's remaining strength, it would definitely lose its fighting power after taking this hit. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. Goodbye for now, Fire Dinosaur. But life is often full of surprises. The expected loss of fighting power of Infernape did not happen. A burst of white light burst out from Infernape's body, and it evolved. In the flames, Infernape's body gradually changed into a more powerful Infernape. The evolved Infernape's strength increased greatly, and it resisted the attack of Dragon's Fury. Then Infernape struggled with his arms, and the flame vortex that was like a natural moat was torn apart, and Infernape stepped out of it. The broken flame vortex scattered into sparks all over the sky, making Infernape more majestic. Roar! Infernape roared to the sky, and the flames on his hood burned fiercely, obviously entering the fierce fire state. Infernape, flash flame charge. Lai ordered. Charmer, we're going to fight too. Use flame blast. Infernape jumped into the air, and the whole body was burning with raging flames, pushing it to fall towards Charmeleon like a meteor. The flame on Charmeleon's tail exploded violently, and it instantly became larger, and it was obviously entering the fierce fire state. Then it took a deep breath, its abdomen bulged, and then it spurted out a large ball of flames to meet the rapidly falling Flamemonkey. This ball of fire relied on Charmeleon's control to completely erupt the remaining fire energy in its body at once. It was a move completely prepared for the final showdown. Facing this fireball that was bigger than itself, Flammenwonky rushed into it without fear. Like the Phoenix Fire, the fireball burst at the moment of contact, but the violent impact did not stop Flammenwonky at all. Instead, the large amount of flames produced by the explosion were collected by it and surrounded its body, like a fiery red cloak. Flammenwonky suddenly smashed down with a large amount of flames. The flames hit the ground and scattered in all directions, forming circles of fire waves, forcing everyone to retreat. Then there was a shocking collision. Smoke and dust rose, blurring the vision. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw the scene in the field. The solid field was full of cracks, and the flame monkey was half kneeling in a big pit. Although he had fainted, he still maintained the attack posture. But unfortunately, his landing point was wrong, half a meter away from where Charmeleon was standing. It should be because he had just evolved, and the superposition of the fierce fire state made his power too strong and difficult to control. In addition, Charmeleon's last attack blocked it, so it did not hit accurately. However, Charmeleon also lost its combat effectiveness. Although it was not accurately hit by the flash charge, it was first hit by the flames, and then was blown away by the violent explosion caused by the impact, and finally lost its combat effectiveness. Come back, good job, Charmeleon. Xuanjian took back the Charmeleon who had lost his combat effectiveness, and Lai on the other side also took back the unconscious flame monkey. I lost. Lai admitted readily. Although both sides lost their combat effectiveness in the end, it was a draw, but the fierce fire monkey evolved into the flame monkey, and the opponent was still Charmeleon. Xuanjian shook his head. No, if you hadn't shown mercy, I wouldn't have won or lost. The opponent's explosive fist was very powerful. If the opponent continued to pursue, it would be possible that he would lose. Lai shook his head. This is my style. Infernape will do its best every time it attacks, and take a short break after it is over. Every attack of his Pokémon will burst out with extremely high attack power, and once it hits, it will be very powerful. But doing so will bring a huge burden to the Pokémon, and it will need to take a short breath after each burst. I noticed that your Charmeleon skill preparation time is very short, and it seems that you can enter the fierce fire state at the end, but you have been suppressing it, right? Xuanjian nodded, and said, Fire spirits don't have much physical strength and poor endurance. I consciously cultivate Charmeleon's control ability, use every bit of energy to the right place, so that its endurance combat ability is improved. At the same time, after each skill is released, it can start preparing for the next skill, so its attack interval is very short. Due to the enhanced control, Charmeleon can control itself and decide when to enter the fierce fire state to avoid wasting physical strength. Really amazing, Lai praised. Can you teach me how to do it? Of course, but I think you have a better person to ask for advice. What do you mean? Lai found it difficult to accept his guess. Yes, it's the glass craftsmen on this island. Their spirits have to carry out a lot of production activities every day, and the efficient use of energy has long been imprinted in their bones. Different calcinations require flames of different powers. If they are not well controlled, they will fail. In addition to the huge amount of labor, these fire spirits are all masters in flame control. It's just that they have lived a comfortable life for a long time and are not good at fighting, so they were easily defeated by Lai. You make sense. Lai nodded, and then turned to the referee who had been silent since he came in. Master Aaron, please forgive my previous ignorant offense. Can I practice with you? Ah, Duogi exclaimed. It turns out that this guy is the most famous glass craft master on the island. I didn't see it at all. In his impression, should a master be the kind of hunchback with white hair and white beard? The man in front of him can only be considered a middle-aged man. Ahem, I'm very hidden. The middle-aged man had said proudly, then turned to Lai and said politely, of course, for a newcomer like you who has potential and strength, I am also happy to cultivate it. In addition, I would like to trouble you to teach us how to fight elves. We are very unfamiliar with these. Master, you are polite. Lai was very happy to see that the other party accepted him regardless of the past. As expected, he is worthy of being a master, and his mind is not ordinary. Duoga didn't take it seriously, leaning over to Xuanjian's ear and whispering, that old guy is so cunning. He took this guy and made the Pokémon Island stronger. He can also say to the outside world that he convinced the other party. Now Pokemon Island has a chance to build a fire gym. Xuanjian smiled. He took money from others and helped them get rid of disasters. He and Lai tied. Although the other party admitted that he lost, he couldn't say he won. He made up for it with this move, leaving the other party completely speechless. Master, I wonder if my Charmeleon can also practice here for a while. Xuanjian asked abruptly. Yes, but I see that your Charmeleon's ability to control fire has already improved a little. Is there not much point in practicing here? Indeed, but I have to do something. Most of the way here is by sea. Charmeleon stays in the Pokeball most of the time, which is not good for it during the period of rapid strength improvement, so I want to leave it here for a while. Of course, no problem. Master Ad nodded. If there is an equally strong Charmeleon to support it, it will be even more perfect. That's great. Xuanjian's Charmeleon will also stay here, so I have someone to communicate with. Lai said happily. Lai, I am also interested in the explosive power of your Pokemon. Can you teach it to my Charmeleon? The explosive power of the fire system is very strong, but if it can be further improved, it will be even more perfect. Of course, no problem. Lai answered generously. It's really good that the opponent admits his achievements. Both of them felt that the other was very good and worth making friends. They had a good impression of each other and soon talked to each other. Through the conversation, Xuanjian also knew that Infernape was not the opponent's strongest Pokemon. The opponent also had a fire-type Blaziken, which was the opponent's initial Pokemon. If the opponent took out that Pokemon, he would definitely lose today. I forgot to say, thank you Penglazyanzan for the reward. I will continue to work hard. Chapter 43 Contact Again. Pokemon trusteeship is not as simple as handing over the Pokeball to the other party, let alone Pokemon like the three great Pokemons. Xuanjian went to the Pokemon Center to handle the formalities, deposited Charmeleon at the Pokemon Center on Pokken Island, and explained the purpose of his trusteeship to Miss Joy. Miss Joy agreed and said that she would take good care of Charmeleon. After a night's rest, the two set out on their journey again. The only regret was that the man they rescued was still in a coma because of his weak body. However, the Pokemons he brought with him were only slightly injured and had recovered and met with it too. What a pity. I don't know if the other party will still be there when I come back next time. He doesn't even know that we are his lifesavers. Duoga sighed as he watched the Pokken Island getting smaller and gradually disappearing into the horizon. She never agreed with the behavior of doing good deeds without leaving a name. How can people thank you if you don't leave a name, and how can you inspire more people to do good deeds? Yes, Xuanjian nodded, agreeing with this, and then yawned loudly. Last night, Lai enthusiastically exchanged his experience in spirit training with him until late at night, and he was seriously sleep-deprived. But fortunately, he could sit on the back of a dragon when he was on the road, and most of the time the sea was calm, so he could take the opportunity to take a nap. But sleeping on the back of a dragon must be uncomfortable, and it can only relieve fatigue a little, so when the two arrived at today's destination, they had dinner, washed up, and then Xuanjian said hello to Duoga and went back to the room to catch up on sleep. But there is a saying that 8 out of 10 people are not satisfied with their lives. Although it is a bit exaggerated to describe the situation at this time, it is very suitable. When Xuanjian was immersed in the fragrance of his dream, he suddenly felt someone calling him and was woken up. Who are you? Xuanjian looked at the person standing in front of his bed angrily. Although he was not so tired, he was still very unhappy to be woken up in the middle of the night. The visitor was a young man who looked ordinary and had no special features. He was not angry at the dissatisfaction in Xuanjian's tone, but bowed respectfully and said, Mr. Xuanjian, I am Ling, and I am here to contact you on the orders of the organization. Organization. Xuanjian was a little confused, and thought for a while before reacting. Team Rocket. Ling nodded. Yes, sir, it is not convenient to talk here, please follow me. Yes. Xuanjian answered absent-mindedly, and then got up and dressed slowly. At the beginning, Xiaobo said that he would send someone to contact him, but there was no news for a long time. In addition, he had accidentally obtained data from Joey, so he almost forgot about the contact with Team Rocket. The data obtained from Joey was almost enough for him to write his thesis. He now had no desire to trade with Team Rocket, but the other party came to him because of what he said, which made Xuanjian a little nervous. After getting dressed, he followed Ling to leave the hotel, not the Pokémon Center, and Xuanjian was thinking wildly all the way. It was indeed a bit impulsive to propose a deal with Xiaobo at the beginning. Although according to my memory, it was indeed a thing, but according to the development of the game in my previous life, there was no fairy attribute at this time. The official explanation was that scientists had not discovered it yet. No one in the game cares about this kind of problem, but for me who is in the real fairy world, this is a big problem. Is it that the official has not discovered it yet, or this attribute has not appeared yet? The world is developing and changing, especially this world is said to be created by the super beast Pokemon Arceus. Now Arceus has not fallen, so whether it will create new attributes is a question. In other words, the fairy system may not have been created at present. If so, I am equivalent to deceiving Team Rocket, and it will definitely not end well. Thinking of this, Xuanjian felt cold sweat on his back. For the first time, he felt that it was an extremely unwise decision to go to the door and make a deal with this evil. However, at this point, Xuanjian could only bite the bullet. After all, if the fairy system has not appeared yet, at most he can push it over by saying that he encountered a special individual. Although he may be unlucky, he can still make up for it. After all, research is bound to make mistakes. He also said that it was an immature discovery. But if he refused directly, he would definitely be considered unwilling to trade with them and stood them up, which would have more serious consequences. Thinking all the way, Xuanjian followed Link to a basement, which was obviously a contact point for the Rockets. There were many people wearing Rockets uniforms working there. When they saw Lang, they all greeted him. It seemed that Lang's status was not low. He took Xuanjian into a room, and Lang bowed to the huge screen in the middle of the room. "Sir, Mr. Xuanjian is here." "Well, you can leave first." A voice came from the screen, and Xuanjian recognized it as Bixius. Xuanjian looked at the big screen, which had 4 figures. One was Xiaobo and the other was Bixius, standing on both sides. In the middle of the two was a sitting man, whose face was completely unclear after being processed during the filming. Behind the man stood a smart and capable woman, who looked like the man's secretary or something like that. "Is this the boss of Team Rocket, Sakuki? I didn't expect him to come out in person. This time, it's a big deal." A trace of cold sweat appeared on Xuanjian's forehead. The one who made Bixius and Xiaobo stand while he sat down could only be Sakuki. "I didn't expect him to come out in person. Are you Xuanjian?" A voice with a hint of curiosity interrupted Xuanjian's wild thoughts. At this time, the first person to speak was undoubtedly Sakuki. "Yes, sir. I heard from Xiaobo that you have an important news to trade with us." The other party did not drag his feet and went straight to the point. "Yes, it's just an immature discovery. Due to insufficient resources, it has not been fully verified. At that time, we urgently needed some data, so we wanted to trade with Team Rocket, but now we have collected the data, so this news will be given to you for free. Don't blame me if there is a problem with the free gift." Sakuki waved his hand. "Team Rocket never takes benefits from friends for free. If the news is true, we will give you corresponding rewards. By the way, didn't Xiaobo say that it is troublesome to collect that data? How come you collected it so quickly? This is also an unexpected gain. To complete my experiment, I either need to measure a large number of Magikarp and draw conclusions, or to completely observe the growth cycle of a Magikarp. Although the latter sounds simpler, it not only ensures that the Magikarp does not evolve, but also ensures that it continues to grow healthily, so it is also time-consuming and laborious. However, I met a Joey when I was traveling, and she happened to have the growth record of a giant Magikarp, which is enough for me to complete the experiment." Sakuki nodded and stopped asking questions. He was not very interested in this kind of thing. "Then now can you tell me about your discovery that is enough to threaten a powerful family?" The critical moment came. Xuanjian took a deep breath and nodded. "Of course. This is also an unexpected discovery. I found that when my Charmeleon used Dragon's Fury to attack Mariel, the damage caused was very small. In addition, the damage caused by other dragon skills was also much less than expected. I consciously collected data during the journey and found that the damage of dragon skills to Mariel and Pippi was much smaller than expected. I guess that perhaps the attributes of Mariel and Pippi are not ordinary attributes, perhaps a special attribute that can be immune to weakened dragon attacks. Unfortunately, dragon elves are too precious, and I haven't found dragon elves to verify this." Too arbitrary, Xiaobo shook his head. "Maybe it's because of the characteristics or something. How can you be sure that it is an undiscovered attribute?" Do you know how difficult it is to determine a new attribute, and how important it is? The results are out, and I seem to have only seen one person guessed it. I replied to him, but then I thought I couldn't spoil the spoiler in advance, so I deleted it again. Chapter 44 Verification Database and Rewards. Xiaobo's words seemed to be a harsh criticism, but they also gave Xuanjian a step. Discovering a new attribute is a difficult thing. As a novice who has just entered the industry, he made a mistake of arrogance and was not intentionally playing tricks on Team Rocket. Xuanjian certainly understood what Xiaobo meant, and immediately took the ladder handed over by Xiaobo. Sorry, I was wrong. I was too anxious at the time and wanted to get your support, so I put forward such an immature discovery. I am very sorry. If I cause you any losses, I will bear it all. Whether you can afford it or not is another matter, and your attitude must be good. Hey, kid, what do you think of our Team Rocket? Is it fun to play tricks on us? Can you afford the consequences? Bixius sneered. I didn't expect this kid to be so unreliable, and the information he provided was actually to be verified. If I had known this, I wouldn't have come to this muddy water. I wanted to get a share of the pie, but in the end I didn't get to eat the fish, and I got a fishy smell, which damaged my image in the eyes of Boss Sakuki. Xuanjian didn't speak, lowered his head, and looked like I was very regretful. It is very troublesome to determine the new attributes of elves, because many elves have dual attributes, and factors such as characteristics, hidden characteristics, skills, race, etc. will interfere with the determination. At present, the most effective way to prove it is to find the corresponding evolution type of Eevee, because the original Eevee has a single general attribute, and after evolution, it has a corresponding single attribute, and the morphology changes significantly. But unfortunately, this is difficult. After all, so many attributes have been discovered now, but only 5 types of evolution types of Eevee have been discovered. In addition to the 3 evolution methods of water, fire, and thunder, which are relatively simple and have been thoroughly studied, the evolution methods of sun elves and moon elves are still a mystery, and many people don't even know that these 2 evolution types exist. If you have a fairy elf in your hand, you can immediately tell everyone that you have discovered a new attribute. Unfortunately, I only have a newly born Eevee in my hand. The intimacy is good enough, but the level is still far from it. It's okay, young people, it's okay to make some mistakes. Sakuki came out to play the good cop, interrupting the 2 people's criticism of Xuanjian, and it hasn't been verified yet. Maybe our little friend really has an incredible discovery. Sakuki said lightly, not seeming to be angry at all that he might have worked in vain. Seeing this scene, Xuanjian didn't relax at all, but became more nervous. Sakuki was more terrifying than he thought, and his calmness was not like a human. For people like Xuanjian, the most terrifying thing is not a furious Sakuki, because he has not officially joined them, and the other party can't hurt him directly. On the contrary, the more furious he is, the easier it is for him to be influenced by others, and the easier it is for him to use tricks to gain benefits. But if the other party is so calm, it means that the other party is not easy to fool, and it is not easy to take advantage of the other party. My lord, it's ready. Sakuki's female secretary said. When Xuanjian introduced his discovery, the other party had already started to make arrangements. Well, let's witness together whether this is a great discovery or a small fallacy. As Sakuki finished speaking, the picture on the screen changed immediately. The first thing that appeared on the screen was a ferocious dragon with a red face and a blue body. The voice of the female secretary also sounded, "This is a red-faced dragon from the Unova region. It is a pure dragon-type Pokémon. It will be tested as an attacker in a while." Then, the screen switched to another picture. The picture showed a sleeping Marill. The voice of the secret technique sounded again. In order to eliminate the influence of the characteristics, we hypnotized this Marill and made it fall asleep so that it could not activate the characteristics. However, it is not sleeping soundly. It will wake up as long as it is attacked. At this time, the sound of opening the door came from the screen. The camera zoomed up and saw that the red-faced dragon had entered the room where Marill was. Following the red-faced dragon, there was also a trainer who ordered the red-faced dragon. Red-faced dragon, use the most powerful dragon's wrath to attack Marill. The red-faced dragon obediently opened its mouth, and a ball of surging energy began to brew. Xuanjian couldn't help but close his eyes, secretly praying that the fairy attribute must exist, but it has not been discovered yet. This is not only a prayer for himself, but also a prayer for the poor Marill. At this moment, Xuanjian regretted his cooperation with the rocket team. Although he could not treat Meryl as a part of his life like his own elves, he could not tolerate the other party suffering from an unexpected disaster because of him. But things are not subject to Xuanjian's will. The dragon's wrath in the mouth of the red-faced dragon sprayed towards Meryl. If Meryl was not a fairy, it would be torn into pieces without any resistance. The dragon's wrath focused on Meryl without any surprise. Meryl, who was attacked, woke up immediately, but it was too late. However, luck was on Xuanjian's side this time. The powerful energy of the dragon's wrath hit Meryl, but it seemed like ordinary air. It had no effect except for making Meryl retreat a few steps. Instead, the remaining energy splashed on the ground, hit the ground and made small pits, proving the power of this attack. After being washed by the energy of Dragon's Fury, a halo appeared on Meryl's body, making her look beautiful and mysterious. Meryl seemed to be angered by the attack of the red-faced dragon, and rushed to the red-faced dragon, raising her little claws. The red-faced dragon didn't care about the behavior of this little guy at all. In its eyes, this little guy was not a threat at all. Meryl jumped up and down around the red-faced dragon, scratching here and there with her little claws. This skill is playful. Although it doesn't look good, it is actually a very powerful general attack. However, the red-faced dragon's skin is extremely solid, so it shouldn't be very effective. The secretary commented. Xuanjian shook his head in his heart and secretly applauded Meryl. According to the update before the time travel, this skill has changed from general attributes to fairy attributes, which just restrains the red-faced dragon. Sure enough, Meryl's small, shining claws scratched the red-faced dragon's skin, and the skin that should have been extremely hard was easily torn open with big holes, causing the red-faced dragon to scream in pain. Everyone present knew what was going on, and they immediately recognized that it was because the energy contained in this attack completely restrained the dragon type, so it caused such serious damage. It's done. Sakuki said, although his tone was still light, but the excitement in it could not be suppressed anyway. After Sakuki finished speaking, the screen quickly switched back to the original state, and the four people appeared on the screen again. Bixius still had disbelief on his face. The powerful dragon elves were actually restrained by such a weak guy. It's probably because the attribute values of these little guys are low, and the dragon elves in Kanto are precious and rare, so people haven't discovered the special features of these little guys. Xiaobo guessed. Seeing that the existence of the fairy type was verified, Xuanjian breathed a sigh of relief, and his back immediately stiffened. Are you satisfied with this discovery, sir? Satisfied, very satisfied. Sakuki said. After confirming this news, he had a huge bargaining chip in his hand when facing the Yulong clan, and it was not impossible to even let them turn against him. The Yulong clan, the pillar of the Kanto alliance, turned against him, and the scene was so beautiful that people couldn't imagine it. Sir, I don't think the value of this discovery is as high as imagined. The secretary said calmly. Oh, why? Dragon-type Pokémon are rare in Kanto. The dragon-riding clan mostly uses pseudo-dragons such as Gyarados and Charizard. I'm afraid this newly discovered attribute will not be of much use to them. The secretary poured a bucket of cold water on everyone. Xuanjian's good impression of the secretary suddenly dropped greatly. Although what the other party said was true, the problem was that after the other party said that, the reward he received would be greatly reduced. Haha, it's okay, you don't know the real secret of the Dragon Control Clan. Sakuki was in a good mood and popularized science to everyone. The power of the Dragon Control Clan lies in its Dragon Control power, which not only attracts these dragon elves and pseudo-dragons, but also helps those pseudo-dragons change their attributes to dragons in battle. This discovery will prevent them from using the power of Dragon Control, and their strength will be greatly reduced. Bixius also contributed to this discovery, and naturally would not reduce the importance of the discovery. He also said, besides, the top combat forces in the Dragon Control Clan are mainly dragon elves. As long as these top combat forces are defeated, the remaining small shrimps will not be easy to deal with. Sakuki nodded and agreed with Bixius's opinion. The secretary saw this and did not say much. Xuanjian, your discovery this time is of great help to Team Rocket. Since your original trading target no longer exists, I will give you a new reward. What do you want? Thank you, sir. Xuanjian thanked politely. I don't want anything for the time being. Why don't you give me some advice? He really didn't have anything urgent at the moment, and he didn't know what good things Team Rocket had. It would be better to put the decision-making power in the hands of the other party. Anyway, the other party should not treat him unfairly. Don't worry, Team Rocket will never treat its heroes unfairly. Sakuki thought for a while, and said to the secretary, I remember that my elf just laid an egg a few days ago. Why don't we reward that egg to this little guy? I shouldn't have promised to give that egg to anyone else, right? No, sir. The secretary said, and then turned to Xuanjian, boy, you are so lucky to get such a precious egg. Xuanjian was overjoyed when he heard it. Thank you, sir. Generally speaking, the higher the qualifications and level of the parent elf, the better the qualifications of the offspring hatched from the eggs it lays. As the strongest gym leader in Kanto, Sakuki naturally has extremely powerful elves, and the elves hatched from the eggs he lays must be very powerful. As for what kind of elf the egg is, I'll leave this little surprise to you. Generally speaking, the type of elf will not be told when sending elf eggs to the other party. This is also a customary rule. Xuanjian doesn't care about this. Anyway, it can't be a giant beedrill egg. Sakuki is known as the Earth. He is good at ground-type elves, so it is very likely that it is an egg of a ground-type elf. His team is missing a ground-type elf, so it just fills the gap. The egg cannot be transmitted through the machine, so someone will send it to you. In the future, the Rocket Team's database will be open to you. You can check it as much as you want. If you have any good discoveries, remember to report it. The Rocket Team will not treat capable people unfairly. After Sakuki said this, he stood up and left with his secretary. Sakuki and Bixius also congratulated Xuanjian and left. After everyone left, the big screen went dark. Xuanjian breathed a sigh of relief and found that his back was already sweaty. Chapter 45 Abrahimovich's Battle. Didn't you go to bed early last night? Why do you still look listless? Duoga couldn't help asking Xuanjian, who was yawning and looked sleep-deprived. Because I had a nightmare last night, I didn't sleep well. Xuanjian made up a random excuse. He couldn't tell Duoga that he was called up in the middle of the night to trade with the rockets. When the trade was completed, it was almost dawn. Not long after he went back to the hotel and fell asleep, the alarm rang. It's incredible that a boy like you is afraid of nightmares. Then you should rest for a while. This section of the road should be relatively calm today, and there won't be any problems. Duoga said. Well, then thank you for your help. I'll take a nap first. Xuanjian chose a relatively safe position as he was told, fixed himself, and then closed his eyes, but he didn't fall asleep immediately, but began to recall some things. After the trade with the rockets was completed last night, he got a login from Len. Through the login, he could log into the rocket's internal database to check some information. When the general information of a person is not very valuable to Xuanjian, what is valuable are those combination moves and some skill training methods. In addition, I learned from Ling that this island is one of the few bases of the Rocket Team in the Orange League. The reward elf eggs obtained by Xuanjian will also be sent here. Xuanjian can come here to collect them on the way back. Thinking of this, Xuanjian gradually fell into a dream. When Xuanjian woke up, the two had arrived at today's destination, an unnamed archipelago. This archipelago should be an undeveloped island. The vegetation on the island is lush and there are traces of human activities. However, the two did not intend to go to the trouble of finding a gathering place for people. They planned to find a suitable place to camp. It is not difficult to find a place to camp on the island. The two soon found a vacant land suitable for camping on one of the islands. The vacant land has been rested, and there are some extinguished fires on the ground, which should be left by the previous camper. The fire looks fresh. The previous camper should have just left. Xuanjian looked at the fire and said to Duoge, the humidity at the seaside is very high and there is a lot of rain. From the traces of the remaining fire, it can be judged that the previous camper has not been away for a long time. Well, in that case, let's camp here. Duoge looked around and thought it was good, so he decided to camp here. After making the decision, the two of them quickly got busy. Xuanjian went to pick up some firewood first, and then started to set up the tent, while Duoge was responsible for preparing meals. Not every time traveler is a cooking master. Xuanjian's cooking skills can only be considered ordinary. When Duoge didn't make special dishes, he was left behind by several streets. The two of them clearly divided the work, and with the help of the elves, a decent camp was soon built, and the air was filled with the aroma of food. It's time to eat. Duoge served the prepared meals one by one and called out, The elves cheered and ran quickly to their food. Even Eevee, who usually sticks to Eevee the most, threw Eevee aside and ran to his food. Just as Eevee ran to his food with his cute short legs and was ready to taste it with a happy face, a green figure suddenly flashed in the air, and then the food in front of him disappeared along with the plate. Boui Ibrahimovic looked at the empty ground in front of him in confusion, turned his head and saw that his food plate was being held by a big green bug, which kept eating the delicious food inside. Suddenly, Ibrahimovic felt furious. Because of his young age, late joining the team, and cute appearance, Ibrahimovic has always been treated like a little princess among the elves in Xuanjian. Everyone gave in to him and took care of him no matter what. Unexpectedly, there was a guy who dared to snatch his food. Let's teach this guy a lesson, Ibrahimovic thought so, opened his cute little mouth, and a dark purple ball of energy formed in his mouth. This is a ghost skill, Shadow Ball. The one who snatched Ibrahimovic's food was a scyther. At this time, this greedy guy was completely focused on the delicious food, and didn't notice the actions of Ibrahimovic whose food was snatched away, so the shadow ball hit without any surprise. Eevee had been with Xuanjian for a while. Although he had hardly participated in any battles, he was required to train together during training. Xuanjian would often tell him some combat tips. Therefore, although it was his first battle, he was much smarter than ordinary Pokémon. He knew that Shadow Ball alone could not defeat the opponent, so after sending out Shadow Ball, he decisively added a slam. Poor Scyther hadn't reacted yet, and was hit on the head by a Shadow Ball. Then, he was knocked out by Eevee and hit the tree trunk next to him. Eevee seemed to be still not satisfied, so he rushed over, swung his tail, used the skill Iron Tail, and hit the opponent's head hard, knocking the opponent unconscious. The movement here naturally alarmed Xuanjian. When Xuanjian looked over, he saw Eevee standing proudly on the head of the fainted Scyther, shouting proudly. Then he took cute little steps and returned to his food. Xuanjian quickly learned what happened from other Pokémons, walked over and touched Eevee's head, and praised, "Well done." Although this Scyther is indeed of a low level and looks like it was born not long ago, it is also very remarkable that Eevee can defeat it. Eevee enjoyed Xuanjian's touch and praise, and rubbed Xuanjian's hand with a happy face. "What are you going to do with this Scyther?" Duoga looked at the Scyther that fainted on the ground and asked Xuanjian. Scyther is a good Pokémon, and many trainers are willing to capture one. Xuanjian seems to have said that he has a similar idea. Xuanjian shook his head. "Forget this one." Although it was attacked by surprise, it was defeated so easily by Eevee. The qualifications of this Scyther are not very good. You can't capture all Pokémons by yourself, and you must go through careful selection. Then let it stay there. Well, don't worry about it. It's not seriously injured. It was just hit directly on the head, so it fainted. When it wakes up, it will leave by itself. This Scyther is still very young. It must have sneaked out of the tribe. His father has a giant claw mantis, which is the evolution of Scyther. There are also many Scyther tribes living in the evergreen forest. Xuanjian knows this kind of Pokémon very well. The shell of this Scyther is very smooth, without any scars, and its limbs are not strong enough. It should still be a child. In this season, young Scythers are growing up, but the elves that can be used as their food, such as caterpillars and unicorns, have evolved into pupae or adults and become difficult to catch. Therefore, the tribe will face food shortages, and these young Scythers will sneak out to find food. Xuanjian's words came true. The Scyther was not seriously injured and woke up soon. It looked at Eevee in fear, wondering how such a small body could contain such strong power. Looking at the flying mantis preparing to escape, Xuanjian smiled. Fortunately, he did not intend to subdue this guy. Weak combat power and combat awareness are not a problem, but if you don't have a strong heart, then everything is empty. No matter how good your talent is, it's useless. The festival is approaching, and it's really busy. It's really difficult to guarantee 2 updates a day, so I can only reduce it to 1 update, and I will resume as soon as possible after the new year. Chapter 46, Fight Again. Seeing the flying mantis trying to escape, everyone thought that the matter was over. But unexpectedly, a powerful flapping sound of wings was heard in the sky, and a mighty flying mantis appeared in everyone's sight and landed in front of the flying mantis that was about to escape. "Hey, this guy is not bad." The newly appeared flying mantis made Xuanjian's eyes light up. This flying mantis is not only strong, but also has extraordinary momentum. Although the carapace looks smooth and shiny, the large number of faintly intertwined scars prove that this is a warrior who has experienced hundreds of battles. Seeing the new flying mantis, the guy who originally planned to escape instantly found the backbone and kept saying something to the new flying mantis. Xuanjian then noticed that the guy who was about to escape was actually a female flying mantis, and the new one was just a male. The flying mantis group is composed of a large number of females and a male insect king and a small number of other male guards. Male non-guard flying mantises that do not submit to the insect king will be expelled after adulthood. Of course, if they are strong enough, they can also replace the old king and become the new king. This is full of human values that cannot agree with the naked jungle law, but it also effectively ensures that the best genes are passed down from generation to generation and ensures the prosperity of the tribe. The male flying mantis in front of him definitely does not look like a guard, so there is only one possibility: it is the king of this flying mantis tribe. Xuanjian immediately thought of regaining the other party. However, he did not expect that before Xuanjian provoked the other party, the king of flying mantis came to the door himself. The other party raised the giant sickle in his hand and aimed at Xuanjian, and his wings vibrated. Xuanjian knew that the other party was challenging him. Xuanjian looked at the female flying mantis hiding behind the other party, and guessed that the flying mantis king had just listened to the confession of his prepared harem and thought that the other party was bullied, so it obviously wanted to teach him a lesson and get back the place. Xuanjian understood this very well. The flying mantis is a very arrogant elf, and there are only a few who are as timid as the female flying mantis. This is because most Pokémon need to evolve to reach their strongest state, and it is generally difficult for wild Pokémon to evolve. For example, in the Pidgeot tribe, most of them are Pidgeots, and there are some Pidgeots, but there is only one Pidgeot in a million. This leads to the weak strength of the tribe. However, Scyther is different. They do not need to evolve. They have a racial value comparable to Pidgeot at birth, which makes the strength of the Scyther tribe far superior to other wild Pokémon. Therefore, Scyther has always been a bully in the wild, and naturally arrogant. The challenge of the opponent naturally hit Xuanjian's heart. Xuanjian nodded. "I accept your challenge. Butterfree, come on." Butterfree nodded, flapped its wings and was about to move forward, but a small figure jumped out, knocked it aside, and stood in front of Scyther. "Eevee? You want to fight?" Xuanjian looked at the self-recommended Eevee and asked with a frown. Although this little guy just defeated a Scyther, it does not mean that the little guy is strong enough. Let's not talk about the fact that he was a bit opportunistic just now. Even the Scyther in front of him was far from being comparable to the guy just now. Ibrahimovic nodded, his little face full of eagerness to try. "Ibrahimovic, this time the opponent is not comparable to the weak chicken last time. The opponent's strength is not weaker than Butterfree. If you want to go on the field, you must be prepared to get hurt. Have you thought about it?" Hearing that he would be injured, Ibrahimovic obviously flinched, but after a struggle, his expression became firm again, and he nodded firmly to Xuanjian. Xuanjian smiled with relief. He didn't expect this little guy to be so courageous. So what's the harm in fulfilling it once? The worst case scenario is to let this Scyther king run away. Okay, then let you go. Xuanjian agreed to let Ibrahimovic go on the field. Ibrahimovic's expression immediately became serious and turned to Scyther. Scyther was very annoyed that the opponent sent such a weak Pokémon to the field. Although it was this little guy who attacked his companion just now, for such a weak guy, it would not take the initiative to attack if the opponent did not provoke it. But now that the other party has come to the door, I must teach it a lesson. Thinking of this, Scyther turned into a shadow, waving a giant scythe, and rushed over. Eevee, throw sand. With Eevee's speed, it is absolutely impossible to catch up with Scythe, so it is better to do some defense. After receiving the order, Eevee immediately kicked his legs and scraped the sand on the ground towards the Scythe. The soil in the campsite has a high sand content and the soil is soft. Eevee easily stirred up a sand rain. Scythe rushed straight into the sand rain and squinted his eyes. The original fierce attack could not help but slow down. Eevee, use high speed star. Scythe is a typical physical attacker with high physical attack and defense. Eevee's small body can hardly cause effective damage to it with physical attacks, but it is easy to be counter-injured by it. Therefore, Xuanjian chose to use a long-range special attack. Scythe was busy cleaning the sand on its body to prevent the sands from blinding its eyes, so it was naturally hit by the high-speed star, but the damage caused was not serious. After withstanding the attack of the high-speed star, Scythe immediately launched a counterattack. It was seen approaching Eevee quickly, and the two giant sickles, one up and one down, one left and one right, crossed and attacked each other, blocking the space for Eevee to dodge. It was the bug skill Cross Scissors. Eevee, jump up, and use Iron Tail to attack downwards. Eevee, who was a little at a loss, jumped up quickly, used Iron Tail to attack downwards, and collided with a giant sickle attacking from the lower right. The impact force bounced it up and successfully dodged a giant sickle from the upper left. Shadow Ball. Xuanjian ordered again. Eevee, who was still in the air, executed Xuanjian's order very well. Without adjusting his posture, a dark purple ball of energy condensed in his mouth and hit it downwards, blocking Scythe who wanted to chase. Because he couldn't do two things at the same time, Eevee didn't adjust his posture, and fell from the air in a mess and fell to the ground. However, the soil on the ground was soft, and the damage caused by such a fall was much lighter than being chased by Scythe. Xuanjian heaved a sigh of relief. Commanding a low-level Eevee to fight a high-level Scythe was as difficult as challenging a hell-level dungeon with a novice trumpet. For this duel, Xuanjian held the idea that he would win if he could fight one more round. On the other side, Shadow Ball did not cause any effective damage to Scythe. As soon as it approached its body, it was cut in half by its sword, showing its rich combat experience. Seeing that Eevee had escaped from its hands for a round, Scythe began to face its opponent. With a kick of its strong hind legs, Scythe once again turned into a residual shadow and rushed towards Eevee, swinging the giant sickle in its hand high and hitting Eevee at the fastest speed. Eevee was not as fast as Scythe, and could only rely on its petite body to dodge flexibly. Its small body was seen moving on the blade, like an acrobat dancing on the tip of a knife. But as the saying goes, a long defense will lead to loss, and Eevee's physical strength is no match for Scythe. Eevee's speed slowed down little by little, and finally he failed to dodge in a dodge, and was hit by the back of the sickle and flew out. Chapter 47 Ibrahimovich's Courage. Looking at the Eevee being beaten and flying away, Xuanjian's heart ached. This little guy has been extremely dependent on him since he followed him, and Xuanjian has also invested a lot of effort in it. Seeing the little guy injured, Xuanjian felt very uncomfortable. However, Xuanjian also knew that his concern would not help the battle situation at all. As long as Eevee has not given up and has not lost his fighting power, what he should do is to command this battle well. Scyther looked at Eevee being beaten and flew away, but did not chase him. This blow was not light. This time, this little guy should know how powerful it is and give up. Eevee felt a burning pain on his back. Just now, he found that he could not avoid it. He could only avoid his fragile abdomen and bear the blow with his back. From birth to now, this is the first time he has suffered such serious injuries. So this is a battle. Eevee has always watched his companions fight hard, thinking it was a fun thing, but he didn't expect it to be so painful. Although it hurts and he wants to give up, Eevee still gritted his teeth and climbed up. For a proud creature, admitting defeat and running away are both shameful things. Since it has chosen to fight, it must fight to the last moment. Come on, Eevee. Duoga shouted, and the other elves also began to cheer for Eevee. Eevee, call, round your pupils, wag your tail, and act like a spoiled child at the same time. Xuanjian ordered. These are all the cute skills that Eevee usually uses, and it is no pressure for it to use them at the same time. Upon hearing the order, Eevee immediately cried softly, staring at Scyther with a pair of big black eyes, and wagging its tail cutely. That look, combined with the scars on its body, looked pitiful. The cute appearance combined with the influence of the energy of the dark skills made Scyther's muscles relax involuntarily, and it couldn't bear to attack hard. It worked. Xuanjian watched Scyther relax, and was secretly happy in his heart. These skills are difficult to work for the determined elves, and only when the time is right can the opponent really fall into the trap. Scyther made a series of calls to Eevee, indicating that Eevee should admit defeat, but Eevee ignored it and just acted cute. Scythe raised its sickle helplessly and chopped it down, but the force was much less. Now, Eevee, use Charm. Pokémon like Eevee can be said to make a living by being cute, and Xuanjian is the best among them. Charm is a skill that can only work when the two parties are of opposite genders, but if the other party is determined, there is a great possibility that it will be immune. Although Eevee is female and Scythe is male, there is no guarantee that Charm will be completely successful, so from the beginning to now, the previous series of actions are all paving the way for this skill. A layer of mysterious light emerged from Eevee's body. Under its influence, in the eyes of Scythe, Eevee turned into a beautiful female Scythe, which made it stunned. Eevee, use Shadow Ball first, then Slam. Xuanjian has been planning for so long just to make Scythe unable to resist, and of course he will not miss this opportunity at this time. Eevee quickly condensed a Shadow Ball in his mouth and hit the sluggish Scythe, then rushed towards Scythe and launched the Slam skill. The sluggish Scyther's Shadow Ball successfully hit, and then he was knocked away by the rushing Eevee and fell to the ground. Seeing that the plan was successful, Xuanjian showed a smile on his face. Well done, Eevee. The praised Eevee panted and raised his head proudly. There is a small amount of damage rebound from the slam, and it is a bit overwhelmed by using so many skills in a row. As the king of Scyther, the opponent is certainly not as fragile as the female Scyther. It did not lose its fighting power after falling to the ground, but quickly got up, and got rid of a series of negative skills. Scyther's eyes were full of solemnity. He did not expect this seemingly weak opponent to be so difficult to deal with, and let him suffer twice. This time he must not be careless again. Holding the scythe, Scyther came to Eevee again, swinging the scythe to chop at Eevee. This time, Scyther did not use his greatest strength to attack, and it was obvious that he had some spare strength to prepare for subsequent changes. Ibrahimovic. Xuanjian originally wanted Ibrahimovic to admit defeat, but seeing the blazing fighting spirit in Ibrahimovic's eyes before he could even catch his breath, Xuanjian gritted his teeth and decided to use the most brutal fighting method. Use that. Ibrahimovic received Xuanjian's order, and a layer of mysterious light spread over its body. Before it could make any other moves, Scythe's giant scythe hit it, and its small body was immediately knocked flying. Scythe did not hold back, slashing Ibrahimovic's body with one knife after another. This was a skill combo. Once it hit the target, each knife was more powerful than the last. The giant scythe cut out a series of hideous wounds, and the blood that flowed out dyed Ibrahimovic's whole body red, but Ibrahimovic persisted without saying a word. Xuanjian, stop! Duoga shouted with tears in her eyes. As a bystander, she couldn't bear to watch it anymore. Xuanjian shook her head and didn't answer, but clenched her fists tightly. Finally, Scythe stopped attacking, letting the wounded Ibrahimovic fall in front of Scythe. Duoga was about to run over, but was stopped by Xuanjian. It's not over yet, Eevee. Use your last bit of strength to attack. Hearing the order, Eevee stood up immediately, and when Scyther was completely unprepared, he jumped up and hit its chest. If this position was where the lungs and heart were, once attacked, it would be short of breath and slow down its actions. Then a ball of energy like a card appeared in front of Eevee's forehead, which quickly enlarged and pressed hard against Scyther, blocking Scyther's other movements. But this was not the end. After doing this, Eevee used all his strength to hit Scyther again. 3 consecutive attacks caused great damage to Scyther, and combined with the previous damage, Scyther finally lost its combat effectiveness completely. Xuanjian didn't care about subduing the Scyther that he liked very much, but rushed to Eevee's side and checked its injuries. Let me do it. Duoga pushed Xuanjian away in a bad mood and began to treat Eevee. Xuanjian smiled bitterly, shook his head, and stood aside. Although he was mentally prepared, Xuanjian did not expect it to be so cruel. It can be said that the last 3 attacks were the best way Xuanjian could think of to maximize the attack power of Eevee. But this was a real battle in reality, which was countless times more cruel than the simple digital instructions in the game. After all, the energy formed by the hold-on skill will protect the vital points, but it cannot prevent the enemy from causing damage and the pain caused by the damage. And when the skill ends, the elf is likely to lose its life. The last tactic used was to let Eevee use the hold-on skill first, withstand the attack of Scyther and retain the last physical strength. Only in this way can it deceive Scyther again with a scarred appearance and get a chance to attack at close range. After Scyther thought that Eevee had lost his fighting power and relaxed his vigilance, he first used the dying struggle to catch Scyther off guard, causing it to be temporarily stiff due to the attack on its vital points, and then used the trump card to suppress it. At this time, Eevee has used all the skills he has learned and can use Eevee's most powerful skill collection. With the damage caused by the previous attack and the last 3 hits, Eevee successfully defeated Scyther. This was the result of the battle that it gambled everything for. After being busy for a long time, Duoga finished his work, and at this time Eevee had been wrapped in bandages like a mummy. Xuanjian, how could you do this? This is too cruel. Fortunately, I treated it in time, otherwise this little guy might lose his life. The first thing Duoga did after completing the treatment was to get angry at Xuanjian. After all, the cruel battle just now was really hard for her to accept. Xuanjian had no expression on her face. If there was a cigarette at this time, she would have to have one. This is its own choice. I just told it about this tactical concept before. It is reserved for her to use when she is in danger. If it doesn't want to fight, it can choose to surrender. There was something that Xuanjian didn't say. Whether it was a trainer or a Pokémon, this kind of desperate thing was inevitable. It was better to experience it earlier under guaranteed conditions than to encounter it without any preparation. You are making a specious argument. As a trainer, you have an obligation to stop it from taking such risks. Xuanjian shook his head. Duoga, trainers should respect the choices of Pokémon. This is the path chosen by Eevee. Xuanjian and Eevee had a deep discussion about the future evolution of Eevee. Based on the skills that Eevee currently has, Xuanjian believes that Leaf Pokémon and Sylph are the two most suitable evolutions for it. Among these two paths, Eevee chose Leaf Pokémon, which means that it will often fight with its opponents in the future. Xuanjian has always been worried about whether it will regret this choice, but after seeing this scene today, Xuanjian is sure that this little guy who can obviously rely on his face is indeed prepared to rely on his strength. P.S. I personally think that Sylph Pokémon is not suitable for fighting, but is suitable for competitions like the gorgeous competition that rely on face to make a living. Huh? Quibbling, I didn't expect you to be such a cruel person. I recognize you wrongly. Duoga said and left angrily. Xuanjian was left helpless. At this time, Ibrahimovic had woken up. With a protection of skills, it was not injured in the vital parts, but it lost too much blood and needed to be recuperated. The awakened Ibrahimovic felt that its body was full of bandages and it was very uncomfortable. Just as it was about to struggle, it was stopped by many hands. It turned out that the elves had gathered around it when it was unconscious. Ibrahimovic looked at his companions, and saw that their eyes were full of concern and admiration, and suddenly he felt that the injuries on his body were not so painful. Ibrahimovic, I'm sorry. Xuanjian walked to Ibrahimovic and squatted down and said to it. Although it was indeed Ibrahimovic's own choice as he said to Duoga, he was also consciously guiding it to this path, and Xuanjian even thought, if he was more powerful, would Ibrahimovic not have to fight so hard to defeat Scyther? Seeing Xuanjian coming, Ibrahimovic immediately cheered and ran to Xuanjian's side, and licked Xuanjian's fingers affectionately with his little tongue, without any unfamiliarity. Eevee, you have done a great thing. You will be a brave warrior recognized by everyone in the future. Xuanjian held it gently in his arms, and said to it solemnly while passing some of the power of Evergreen to help it heal its wounds. The elves cheered for it, but the little guy fell asleep contentedly in the nourishment of the power of Evergreen. A 3,000-word chapter, please vote. Chapter 48 The Elves That Came to Your Door. The power of Changpan can help Eevee heal its wounds, but unfortunately Xuanjian only has a little power of Changpan at present, which can only make Eevee less painful. Holding Eevee and watching it fall asleep, Xuanjian remembered the scythe that was knocked down by it. He turned his head quickly to see that the place was empty. The opponent had obviously escaped while everyone's attention was not on it. The self-healing ability of the elves is very strong, and the stronger the elves are, the more so. Therefore, it is often the case that the weak elves fight for their lives to defeat the opponent, but they are more seriously injured, while the opponent can recover quickly. Although Eevee won the battle, Eevee is still lying in his arms with scars all over his body, while the defeated Scythe has been able to run away. This is really helpless. Xuanjian felt a little pity for the escaped Scythe, which still looked very good. However, this pity is only a small trace. The biggest gain of this duel is being held in his arms. He never realized that Eevee was so brave and stubborn. He was simply a natural warrior. Since the path has been chosen, I will wait until Magikarp successfully evolves and this little guy grows up a little more, and then I will take this little guy to evolve into a leaf elf. Duoga seems to be angry. I don't know where he ran off to. Hey, this seems to be a bit troublesome. Since knowing Duoga, from being just a trading partner at the beginning to being a happy friend now, this seems to be the first time the two have quarreled. We are both right. What should we do? Xuanjian had a headache and didn't know what to do. He had little experience in getting along with girls in his two lives, and he didn't know that there was a coping measure called giving in to girls. Hualala. The sound of flapping wings interrupted Xuanjian's meditation. I saw a green flying mantis flying over from the sky, hovering in the air, as if looking for something. What's going on? Could it be that the one just now was not the king of the flying mantis? The old one came after the young one. Xuanjian looked at the flying mantis circling in the air, a little surprised. However, it is rare to see such a flying scythe. Although scythe is also a flying attribute elf, its flying ability is not strong. Most of the time, it relies on its powerful legs to jump up, and then flaps its wings to fly a short distance. It is rare to see a scythe that can hover in the air. Suddenly, the scythe came straight to Xuanjian, folded its wings, and landed in front of Xuanjian. Xuanjian then took a good look at this newly appeared scythe. Generally speaking, scythes with outstanding flying ability are thin. After these scythes evolve, they are more likely to obtain the characteristics of light metal than their strong counterparts. But the scythe in front of him is very strong, and is not inferior to the previous one. However, after a careful look, Xuanjian denied the possibility that this scythe is the insect king, because this scythe is disabled. The sickle of a normal scythe is a flat wedge, one end is slightly thicker and the other end is slightly thinner, and it is extremely sharp, comparable to a sharp blade that can cut hair. But the double sickles of this scythe are close to rectangular, which is obviously caused by congenital deformity. Such a scythe obviously cannot become the insect king. What do you want to do? Xuanjian asked the scythe. It is not the insect king, so it is impossible to seek revenge for the previous scythe. So what is it doing here? It wants to go with you. A crisp female voice came from the direction of the scythe, and then a woman in uniform walked out of the dense bushes and appeared in front of Xuanjian. Hello, I'm Anna, the ranger of this island. Hello, Miss Anna, I'm Xuanjian. Xuanjian nodded to the other party. Although he didn't feel the power similar to the power of Changpan from the other party, Xuanjian still had a good impression of the ranger. I don't know what you mean. Anna glanced at the scyther, and then said to Xuanjian, the position we are standing on can be clearly seen from the high ground in the west. We saw the battle between you and the leader of the Scyther tribe just now. It was a very exciting battle. Because of your excellent performance, this guy wants to become your elf and go with you. When saying this, Anna's words revealed a little bit of imperceptible jealousy. Xuanjian kept looking at the Scyther. Its limbs and wings are strong and powerful, no wonder it can hover in the air. The carapace is covered with scars, which shows that it is a battle-hardened fellow. His eyes are bright and lively, which shows that he is very smart. Very good qualities, but it's a pity that he has two sickles deformed. Hearing Xuanjian's evaluation, Anna was immediately unhappy. What's the big deal about the double sickles deformity? This guy can defeat the Scythe King that you saw. I have always wanted to subdue it, but it doesn't want to be subdued by me. It's a pity that I can't beat it, otherwise I wouldn't let you get away with it. Defeated the Insect King, so powerful. Xuanjian was a little surprised. The Scythe with the double sickles deformed would definitely be at a disadvantage in a fight, but he didn't expect that it could actually defeat the Insect King that looked like it had very good qualities. It was really amazing. Yes, this guy was abandoned by the tribe early because of congenital deformity. I raised him, but he dared not move at all and refused to be my Pokémon. He wanted to follow the trainer to travel in the outside world and become stronger. It's all Grandpa's fault. He always told him stories about the outside world, which made his heart wild. Anna complained. It can be seen that she likes this Scythe very much. Unfortunately, the goddess has a heart, but the king has no dream. The other party does not buy her account, so she can only vent her resentment on Grandpa. I agreed. I didn't expect that I would have a Pokémon to come to me on my own initiative. Xuanjian said arrogantly. Am I starting to turn on the protagonist's halo? Although the double sickles of this Scythe are deformed, which will greatly affect its combat effectiveness, this weakness will disappear as long as it evolves into a giant claw mantis. Compared with the flying insect attribute Scythe, the steel attribute giant claw mantis is the Pokémon I want. Then this little problem is not a problem at all. Don't be so conceited, Anna interrupted Xuanjian's narcissism. This guy has asked many trainers to take him away before, but unfortunately some trainers think that he is deformed and has no training value, and those who like him don't meet his requirements. Any more requirements? Of course, that is to defeat and subdue this guy personally. Anna showed a sly smile. Although Xuanjian had just defeated the Bug King, this Scyther is stronger than the Bug King. Even though you chose the trainer yourself, do you still have to set a test for the other party? Very smart, I am really more and more optimistic about you. Xuanjian praised, and then said to Scyther solemnly, but there is another question I need to ask you. I want a Scyther that can evolve into a giant claw mantis. If you evolve into a giant claw mantis, your defects can be made up and you can become stronger, but the way of fighting will be completely changed. Can you accept it? Scyther's style is to seize the opportunity to burst out instantly, and it is about explosive power. The giant mantis, on the other hand, relies on its attribute advantage and one-hit kill to win. They are two different paths. Once it evolves, most of its previous combat experience is almost useless and it needs to start all over again. The evolutionary race value remains unchanged, but it has to start from scratch. If it can choose freely, many flying mantises will not choose to evolve. Although there is hope to make up for the physical defects, it is still a question whether this flying mantis can accept it. Hearing Xuanjian's question, the flying mantis nodded without hesitation. The deformed giant sickle has always been its weakness. Although it has long stopped caring about it, it would be more than happy to solve it. It was said that I would take a holiday to rest, but why do I feel busier than going to work when I go home to rest? Exclamation mark. Those who feel the same, please give me a vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Recapture Scyther. Seeing Scyther nodded in agreement, Xuanjian also nodded, no problem for that long. As for us, Butterfree, you come. Butterfree? There is not much hope for this Pokémon. Anna shook her head. With the same insect flying attributes, the racial values are very different. Butterfree and Scyther are too different. If it weren't for the exciting game where the weak defeated the strong just now, I would have thought that the other party was joking. Xuanjian didn't say anything, and the strength would speak for itself. On the other side, Scyther didn't care about Anna's words, but had already set up his posture, looking solemnly at Butterfree flying out of the team. As a veteran warrior, its intuition is very sharp, and its intuition tells it that the opponent is very strong, far from being comparable to those Butterfree it has seen before. Then can Miss Anna be the referee? No problem. Anna nodded. Then let both sides stand at a certain distance and walk to the middle of the two sides. Well, get ready, start. Anna gave the order, and Scythe immediately launched an attack. It used its strong hind legs to kick, and rushed to Butterfree with a swoosh, and smashed down Butterfree with its deformed sickle. Although its forelimbs were deformed, with such a force, once it hit, the damage would not be small. Very good speed, much faster than the previous one. Xuanjian commented, without any intention of issuing any orders. After a long period of running and training, Butterfree no longer needed too many instructions from Xuanjian, and at this time it made its own judgment. It flapped its wings and drew a graceful arc in the air, avoiding Scythe's attack, while strengthening itself, which was the skill butterfly dance. Seeing that the surprise attack failed, Scythe did not continue to pursue. Although it could fly, it knew that its flexibility in the sky was far inferior to Butterfree, and if it followed, it would be a target, so it fell back to the ground, waiting for the opportunity to kill with one blow like a swordsman. Butterfree, air slash. Xuanjian naturally couldn't let Butterfree wait foolishly, so he quickly issued an attack command. Butterfree immediately flapped its wings, sending out wind blades to the Scyther on the ground. We lost. Anna said secretly in her heart. Flying skills have double damage to Scyther, and Scyther's special defense is lower than its physical defense, so the air slash attack is very effective. Many trainers used this skill subconsciously in the past, but Scyther won the game by exchanging injuries. Looking at the wind blades in the sky, Scyther's eyes flashed with disappointment, and then he regained his firm gaze, kicked his feet hard, flapped his wings at the same time, and shot towards Butterfree in the air at a very fast speed, resisting the attack of the wind blades. I've used this move before, how can I not be on guard? Since the air slash skill uses wings to attack, it is difficult for the Pokémon to move. He and Magikarp used this weakness to deal with Spearow, so how can he not be on guard against others using the same trick? Butterfree, use telekinesis to knock it back. For Butterfree, who has extremely strong mental power, it is not difficult to do two things at the same time. While continuing the wind blade, its tentacles slightly straightened up, and a powerful telekinesis shot out, pressing Scyther back to the ground. In the air, Scyther had nowhere to get support, and it was difficult to resist the telekinesis, so it was easily knocked back to the ground by the telekinesis. But once it landed on the ground, it suddenly tensed up and broke free from Butterfree's suppression. It quickly escaped from the range of the wind blade, making the remaining attacks miss. Then it kept running, and at the same time split into several shadow clones, so that Butterfree could not lock on it. In that case, let's do it too, Butterfree, clone. Butterfree stopped attacking and also split into several shadows. Seeing this, Scyther stopped and confronted Butterfree, waiting for the other party to attack first and fall into its trap. How can I wait with you foolishly, Butterfree? Let's do another butterfly dance. Compared with this experienced hunter, Butterfree must be a little immature. It will definitely be a disadvantage to confront the opponent and compete with patience. It is better to strengthen itself and force the opponent to make a move. After receiving the order, Butterfree danced a butterfly dance again. The main body and the clone danced in the air together, which was dazzling for a while. Seeing that the enemy strengthened itself again, Scyther had to change its tactics. It was seen that it took several clones to pounce on Butterfree dancing in the air. Since the clones would disappear only when attacked, the air became a mess for a while. The phantoms of Butterfree and Scyther passed through each other's bodies, which looked particularly weird. In the chaos, Scyther keenly discovered that one of its phantoms was about to pass through a Butterfree and suddenly shattered, proving that it was Butterfree's true body. Scyther immediately used the split skill to attack the Butterfree. I've been fooled again. Xuanjian smiled. The order he issued seemed to be for Butterfree to use the skill Shadow Clone, but in fact, he also prepared a substitute skill to trick the opponent into launching a powerful attack. Scyther's attack landed accurately on Butterfree, and instantly split Butterfree in half. Scyther looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment, realizing that he had been tricked again. Butterfree, illusion light. Butterfree appeared not far in front of Scyther. Just now, it cleverly used its wings and phantoms to cover itself, but in fact, it was not in any phantom. Its wings and antennae were slightly lit, and it emitted a hazy light towards Scyther. Scyther, whose spirit was attacked, stiffened instantly and fell from the air. Keep chasing, air cutting. Xuanjian looked at the falling Scyther, and regardless of whether the opponent was confused, he immediately ordered Butterfree to attack. Butterfree executed the order without hesitation, and a large number of wind blades were generated by the flapping of wings and shot at Scyther. Okay, be prepared for defense. After the wind blades launched a wave of attacks, Xuanjian asked Butterfree to stop. After all, it was the Pokémon he was going to capture, so it was not good to be too heavy. The dust stirred up by the wind blades dissipated, and Scyther appeared in everyone's sight. At this time, it had lost its combat effectiveness. Go, Pokémon Ball. Xuanjian threw the Pokéball to Scyther, and in Anna's jealous eyes, he put the Scyther into the ball. Congratulations on recapture, Scyther. Although a little reluctant, Anna still blessed. She saw the battle just now. Xuanjian's Butterfree completely suppressed Scyther, and every step of Scyther was calculated by Xuanjian. Such a powerful trainer is exactly what Scyther has been waiting for. Thank you. Xuanjian was also happy to have subdued the Scyther, who had always had great potential. As long as he trained it for a period of time, this Scyther could become the main force of the team. It would be even better if it evolved into a giant mantis. Happy Chinese New Year, fellow readers. I am writing for you without watching the Spring Festival Gala. If you have tickets, please give me some. Chapter 50 Storm at Sea. The next morning, Xuanjian and Duoga set off on their journey as usual. The difference was that this time, the atmosphere between the two was a little weird. Duoga, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Xuanjian asked curiously, looking at Duoga, who looked wrong. I'm fine. Duoga said proudly. Oh, let's go quickly. You, humph, let's go. Duoga looked at Xuanjian with hatred. This guy, it's okay that he refused to admit his mistake yesterday, but he didn't even try to comfort someone when he was angry and left. It's really annoying. Xuanjian was puzzled by Duoga's reaction and felt that he couldn't understand what was going on. This is the huge difference between the way boys and girls think. Boys sometimes think it's a trivial matter, but girls think it's unforgivable. Except for those experienced old drivers, most men, especially those who have never been in love, even if countless good friends have instilled similar knowledge in them, read many strategy books, and talked freely when they were advising others, but when the time comes, they are completely confused. This shows that the gap between theory and practice is as far as the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So the two began today's journey in this weird and depressing atmosphere. Duoga continued to look at Xuanjian with hatred. Xuanjian was completely confused. He asked Duoga, but Duoga didn't say anything, so he could only be depressed alone. You were very reasonable before, why did you become like this now? Xuanjian was a little confused. Xuanjian didn't know that the relationship between the two was in a special period. Before, the relationship between the two was still in the stage of just getting to know each other, unfamiliar and polite, and would not show their true selves to each other. Even if they had different opinions and conflicts, they would politely ignore them and put them aside. If the two knew each other better and their friendship was deeper, then when such conflicts occurred, the two would understand each other better and have better ways to deal with them. From the time they came to the Orange Islands to now, the two have been traveling for almost a month. The two have experienced a lot along the way, and their relationship has gradually changed from unfamiliar and polite to familiar and close, and they have established a certain friendship, so this weird scene appeared. Both of them were worried, and they didn't know that the weather had suddenly changed while they were in a daze. The weather in the Orange Islands is sunny most of the time, and it rains a few times. But the change between sunny and rainy days is obvious, and there are almost no big storms on rainy days, so the Orange Islands can become a resort and a training ground for sailing beginners. But those who have lived in the Orange Islands for generations know that the Orange Islands are occasionally not so mild, and there will be abnormal weather. In a short period of time, the weather will suddenly change from sunny to rainy. There will also be storms on the sea that are almost impossible to appear in the Orange Islands. People believe that this is an abnormal phenomenon caused by the sea god. If Xuanjian were to see it, then this is undoubtedly caused by the activities of the super beast level elf Lugia. Of course, the Lugia that can cause this level of disaster is definitely not the kind of little guy who was born not long ago, but the kind of Lugia that has experienced a long time, is powerful, and even comprehended some world laws. Its every move will have a huge impact on the world. At this time, a huge Lugia flew in the sky. Its strong wings dispersed the originally gathered rain clouds, changed the airflow, and formed rainfall in a new place. At the same time, due to the sudden change in climate and the influence of the airflow raised by the wings, huge waves and countless whirlpools formed on the sea below. Unfortunately, Xuanjian and Duoga were in such a dangerous area, and they were unaware of it. What's going on? Why did the weather suddenly change? Xuanjian looked up at the rapidly gathering rain clouds in the sky and the increasingly turbulent sea. I don't know. I checked the weather before. The route we are taking today should be sunny. Duoga didn't care about getting angry over trivial matters at this time, and looked at the sky that was darkening due to the gathering of dark clouds with a serious face. The rain clouds that Lugia dispersed happened to gather here again. It looks like it's going to rain. We must find a place to stay. Only large passenger ships can sail in rainy days. It is very dangerous for a simple group like Xuanjian to travel in rainy days. Moreover, there are no measures to avoid the rain. If you get wet, you will easily get sick. Well, Duoga said, looking through the sea chart and pointing to a small island on the map, the closest island to us should be this one. Although it is an uninhabited island, it is still possible to take shelter from the rain. Then let's go to that island. Okay, Chenglong, turn southeast 25 degrees. Duoga measured and ordered Chenglong. Chenglong nodded. Although he liked rainy days very much, he also knew that it would be very dangerous if he did not dock when a storm came at sea, not to mention that there were 2 passengers on his back. Therefore, Chenglong quickly turned around and swam towards the target island. Chenglong was very fast. Even though he was affected by the ups and downs of the sea and could not exert his full strength, he soon swam to a place not far from the island. As long as he tried harder, he could dock. But at this time, an accident happened. The ups and downs of the sea surface continued to create waves. When Chenglong crossed a wave as usual, he was hit on the head by a tree trunk rolled up by the waves and fainted immediately. Fortunately, Duoga quickly took it back to the Pokeball, thus avoiding its fate of being washed away by the waves. However, the 2 of them were unlucky and fell into the water. Fortunately, they both wore life jackets, so they were not too embarrassed. Call out other water-type Pokémons quickly. Xuanjian shouted. There seemed to be a storm in the distance, and it would be troublesome if they didn't get to the shore. Come out, Squirtle, Lanternfish, and Seahorse. You can also come out to help, Magikarp, Starfish, and Butterfree. Xuanjian called out his own water-type Pokémons, and at the same time called out Butterfree, who was good at superpowers. After calling out the Pokémons, Xuanjian quickly took out a rope from his bag, handed one end to the water-type Pokémons, and tied the other end to the two of them. Everyone pull hard and swim to the island over there, Xuanjian ordered, and then said to Butterfree, who was flying hard in the rain, Butterfree, you land on my head. If there are any dangerous things and big waves along the way, you use your telekinesis to open them. Butterfree nodded, landed on Xuanjian's head, and began to defend. The group and the Pokémon swam to the island in this simple way. Although this simple team has many people, its efficiency is much lower than that of the dragon. Although the elves are very desperate, they are still a long way from the island after swimming for a long time, but the storm and huge waves are getting closer and closer. No, we must change a measure. Xuanjian said and untied the rope tied to himself. Duoge, you and the elves go to the shore first, and then let the elves pull me. No, how can I leave you alone? Duoge refused. Be obedient, it will be too strenuous for them to pull together with two people, and the efficiency is too low. Let them take you over first. But you know buts. Xuanjian interrupted Duoge's words, don't talk nonsense, if you don't hurry up, there will be enough time for a round trip. How about this, Haixing stays, and Butterfree goes to Duoge. Haixing's swimming speed is not fast, and its pulling power is not outstanding. At the same time, it can use superpowers, so it is most suitable for it to follow him. Don't talk nonsense, hurry up, do you want to kill everyone? Seeing that Duoge still didn't move, Xuanjian yelled. Okay, then you must wait. Everyone, hurry up and let's go. Duoge bit his lip and ordered the elves. With one less load, the elf speed was indeed much faster, and they quickly pulled Duoge away. With only Haixing by his side, Xuanjian could only barely ensure that he would not be washed away by the waves. I didn't expect that I would do such a self-sacrificing thing. Xuanjian looked at Duoge who was going away and smiled self-deprecatingly. With the speed of the storm approaching, the elf simply could not return home. He was really in danger this time. Well, it must be that the majority of the water elves are Duoge, and it would be very troublesome if something happened to such a young lady, so I did this, not because I am a man and cannot let girls take risks, or what about friendship among companions. This was Xuanjian's last thought, and then he was blown away by the huge waves. I quite like the setting where a disaster comes after a quarrel with a girl. Because I am also a single dog who was forced to get married, there is no condition for such a thing to happen. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.